Chapter 107. Zhang Qin. Fang Yin looked at the name inscribed on the back of the challenge and asked in surprise, "I don't know him, why did he hit me?" The corner of Baldy's mouth twitched and he said, "He didn't hit you, he wanted to compete with you. Do you think I'm stupid?" Fang Yin sneered. "I just had a conflict with Glory Martial School, and now they're sending me a challenge. Don't they just want to beat me up after defeating me? They're doing it for revenge and they're finding a dignified excuse for it. This kind of hypocritical and cunning villain, I don't even want to fight with him." Baldy thought about it and it really did seem like it. Mr. Fang really understands human nature, you can predict things like a god. Baldy grinned, revealing 2 rows of neat yellow teeth. "If it were me I would do the same," Fang Yin said. Fang Yin handed the challenge back to Baldy and said, "Just pretend you didn't see me." "No way, no way." Baldy waved his hand to refuse. "Zhang Qin came early in the morning, and he's been waiting in front of our security office for an hour. He said if you don't accept the challenge he won't leave." Fang Yin said indifferently, "If he doesn't want to leave then he won't leave. He can stand for as long as he wants. The land and sunlight are all free. If you're in a good mood, pour him a glass of water. If you're in a bad mood, talk to him more and waste his saliva. If he's thirsty he'll naturally go back. He's a living person standing there all the time, how bad would that be? That's the job of your security office. Just chase him away on the grounds that he's affecting the security office and polluting the eyes of the students. You said the students are scared when they see him?" "He won't leave," Baldy said with a bitter smile. "If it was someone else we could think of a way to send him away. But if it's Zhang Qin we really can't do that." Fang Yin looked at Baldy doubtfully and asked, "How much do you know about him?" "Zhang Qin is a brilliant and famous martial arts madman. In the beginning, in order to compete with a Wing Chun master he followed him for more than a month. When others were eating he would sit and eat. While others were receiving guests, he stood at the side and listened. Wherever others went he followed. That expert couldn't stand it anymore. I had no choice but to agree to his request." "What was the result?" Fang Yin asked. "I don't know." Baldy shook his head. "They are competing in secret. We don't know the result. There's no news about it." "You mean I have no choice but to accept it?" "I can't," Baldy said. "The glorious martial school is right next to our rosefinch. Zhang Qin will definitely come and follow you every day." Fang Yin was a little interested in Zhang Qin and asked, "How is his skill?" "He can fight very well," Baldy said excitedly. "He is the 3-time MMA champion of Huaqing. He is the ace coach of the glorious martial school. Some say he is the #1 expert in Huaqing." Fang Yan's expression changed greatly and said, "You better tell him that you didn't find Fang Yan." "Mr. Fang, hey Baldy." Fang Yan looked up and down at Baldy and said with a cold smile, "I find that you really want me to accept this match. What? You want to see me get beaten up? Or did Zhang Qin send you to be a lobbyist? If I agree, what benefits will he give you?" "No, no." Baldy waved his hands repeatedly. "Why would I want to see you get beaten up? I mainly want to see you beat someone up. This reason won't convince me," Fang Yan said. Baldy pondered for a moment, then looked at Fang Yan and said, "Actually, it's not just me who wants you to accept the letter of challenge. My colleagues in the security department all hope that you can accept it. The entire Rosefinch Secondary's teachers and students also hope that you can accept it." "So much higher all of a sudden? To fight for Rosefinch? You also know that although our Rosefinch students have good grades when it comes to fighting, we are really no match for those martial arts school students. It is also because of this reason that the martial arts school students often come to the Rosefinch student activity area to show off their strength. The students are holding in their anger, and our security department has to deal with the conflicts between these students all day, so we are also holding in our anger. But what can we do even if we hold in our anger? Our fists aren't as hard as theirs and our fights aren't as fierce as theirs. We can only be bullied by others." Baldy looked at Fang Yan and said, "Mr. Fang is skilled in both literature and martial arts. The matter of you beating up Wu Rin swordsmen in order to avenge your students has long been known by everyone in Huaqing. The students of Rosefinch all see you as their guardian angel, and they all feel that as long as you are there, you can protect them. But the students of Brilliant Martial Arts School all think that we are just bragging, saying that Mr. Fang is just a show-off, and that if he met their teachers and students he would be beaten down in less than 3 moves. Because of this matter, the students of the 2 schools had many wars of words. This time, the students of Brilliant Martial Arts School will definitely know that Zhang Qin came to our school's entrance to issue a challenge. The students of our school will know very quickly. If they know that you rejected Zhang Chen's letter of challenge, they will definitely be very disappointed. Therefore, this competition concerns Rosefinch's reputation, as well as the morale of the students. We all hope that Mr. Fang can step forward bravely and fight for our honor and dignity. My personal honor doesn't matter much, but since it concerns Rosefinch's honor and dignity, I will not shirk my duty, Fang Yen said with a serious expression. Mr. Fang agreed? Baldy was overjoyed. Fang Yingying, Fang Yen shouted. Here, the short and fat Fang Yingying ran in front of Fang Yen and said, Junior Marshal Uncle, you were looking for me? Are you willing to fight for Rosefinch's honor and dignity? Yes, Fang Yingying shouted loudly. But why should I fight for Rosefinch's honor and dignity? I have nothing to do with Rosefinch. Then fight for me, Fang Yen said. He stuffed the letter of challenge in his hand into Fang Yingying's hand and said, You can only win, you can't lose. Fang Yingying and Baldy looked at each other and didn't know what to do. Fang Yen looked worried and said, Principal Lu is angry. What should I do to please her? I'm going to tell her that she's not the kind of woman that I made her out to be. She won't believe me if I tell her that she's not the kind of woman that would cry and laugh at the slightest bit of kindness. But she has never promised to marry me. Mr. Zhang, you should go back first. Baldy has gone to find someone for you. We will inform you when we find him. Yes. You are standing in front of the school gate and all the students are looking at you. If the school leaders know, we will be scolded again. Zhang Chen was indifferent to Rosefinch's security guard's persuasion. He said, I will not leave until Fang Yen comes out. Mr. Zhang? Hey, Baldy is back, a security guard said, pointing to the wall. Mr. Fang Yen also came out. Fang Yen walked to the school gate with Baldy and the hero. He looked at the big man in rough clothes standing at the gate of the security office and said, We have met. You're the one who's seen me. I've never seen you before. Zhang Chen stared into Fang Yan's eyes. That night, he brought people to block the door of Chu Xiangqing's restaurant. In the end, Fang Yan did not go downstairs. Instead, he stood upstairs and recorded the scene of them shouting and insulting. The police came to take them away. From beginning to end, he did not even have a chance to meet Fang Yan. Was he the one who sent the Japanese swordsman flying? Was he the legendary Tai Chi master? You could not tell from his appearance at all. He was gentle and handsome, thin and tall, and his face was too young. No matter how you looked at him, he did not look like a peerless master. However, Zhang Chen's intuition told him that this was the person he was looking for. He felt danger. His body reacted subconsciously. Fang Yan also recognized Zhang Chen in front of him. It was the man he saw in front of the window surrounded by brilliant students. He said with a smile, So it is you. I even took a photo of you. Zhang Chen felt a pain in his chest as if he had been stabbed on the spot. He said, Yes. Those photos are still in the police station. You see, you already have a criminal record in the police station. You still want to hit me. Isn't it too risky? Fang Yan said with a smile. He had handed the video to the police to prevent these guys from taking revenge. I am a challenge. A fair and square challenge. Zhang Chen was not used to Fang Yan's way of saying things, so he could only directly state his intention. Our martial arts association often organizes competitions to compare notes. This is legal. Is it legal to hit people? Fang Yan said angrily. Is it legal for me to hit you? It is also legal, Zhang Chen said. The premise is that you can knock me down. Hearing you say that, I am relieved, Fang Yan said. The original intention of practicing martial arts is to strengthen the body and protect the family. Fighting and killing in our spare time is not what people like us do. Although I've never fought with anyone before, since you're so persistent, I'll fulfill your wish. Where shall we fight? Zhang Chen did not expect Fang Yan to agree so readily. His face was full of joy as he said, Brilliant Martial Arts School has a special competition hall. If you have any concerns, you can choose the location. He was worried that if he arranged the competition venue at Brilliant Martial Arts School, Fang Yan would not be happy. After all, it was an away game. Fang Yan could easily be surrounded by the students of Brilliant Martial Arts School. If he did not handle it well, Fang Yan would suffer a big loss. Then let's go to Brilliant Martial Arts School, Fang Yan said. I believe you guys can't do something like fighting 100 against 1. If you really can't do it, we can call the police. Chapter 108. Glory Martial Arts School's ace coach, Zhang Chen, issued a challenge to Rosefinch Secondary's language teacher, Fang Yan. Fang Yan happily accepted the challenge. Under the manipulation of someone with ulterior motives, this news instantly spread throughout Rosefinch and Glory Martial Arts School. Glory Martial Arts School students were rubbing their hands in excitement. They were all looking forward to Zhang Qin teaching the guy who brought hope to Rosefinch's students and brought shame to Glory Martial Arts School. Zhang Qin was a professional, an ace, a 3-time MMA champion in Huaqing, and the #1 in Huaqing in many people's hearts. They had confidence in Zhang Qin. They never thought that Zhang Qin would lose. In their dictionaries, there was absolutely no such ominous word. As for Fang Yan, although Rosefinch's students said that he was so powerful, and that he had defeated such a brilliant Japanese swordsman, who knew if they were deliberately bragging about him as a hero? Besides, Fang Yan had only defeated one person. In Zhang Chen's path, the number of people who had been defeated by him was innumerable. How could it be more than 1,000? Who was superior and who was inferior? It was obvious at a glance. The Rosefinch's students were in an uproar. The students were discussing and howling. Did teacher Fang Yan really agree? That's great, Mr. Fang should teach those guys who are all brawn and no brains a lesson. Why is the competition starting now? Why isn't it Sunday? We have to go to class today? That's right, I really want to go and cheer for Mr. Fang. What should I do? Should I ask for leave and skip class? That zombie face definitely won't agree to let him go, right? It was rare for Qin Yitian to appear in the classroom today. When he heard the discussion in the class, he couldn't help but smile. Watching him fight should be more interesting than going to class. Qin Yitian stuffed his earphones into his ears, picked up his bag and walked out of the classroom. Seeing Qin Yitian's action, Tang Qing quickly pushed the chair away and ran out. Qin Yitian! Tang Qing shouted from behind. Qin Yitian looked back at Tang Qing, smiled and continued to move forward. Tang Qing's heart was instantly filled with joy. She smiled at him and did not object to him going with her to cheer for Fang Yan. Soon the joy turned into disappointment. Because when he took the initiative to greet her, she didn't even respond. I'm the most handsome guy in school. Why doesn't she respect me and help me protect my face? The revolution had not succeeded yet, and he still had to work hard. As long as there was a chance, Tang Qing knew that he would definitely succeed. He walked quickly to Qin Yitian's side and walked side by side with her. He said, Qin Yitian, who do you think will win the competition between Zhang Qin and Mr. Fang? Fang Yan, Qin Yitian said indifferently. Although Mr. Fang is very strong, Zhang Qin is not someone to be trifled with. He's the 3-time champion of Huaqing and the #1 in Huaqing in name. Fang Yan, Qin Yitian said again. Tang Qing was speechless. It was very difficult to find a common topic with this kind of brainless fan. Following along with Qin Yitian's constant praise of Fang Yan, he was really not happy. Since Glory Martial Arts School was a martial arts school, there would naturally be no lack of competition venues. Actually, it didn't matter where Fang Yan fought. Whether it was the hall or the courtyard, the wooden floor or the concrete floor, or even the bushes or the forest, Fang Yan could handle it with ease. The key was to defeat the opponent and not be defeated by the opponent. The Fang family's martial arts hall was classical and grand, but every time he fought with Yi Ro, she would beat him like a dog. How could Fang Yan's mood be good? #1 Practice Hall. This was Glory Martial Arts School's largest competition hall. Fang Yan and Zhang Chen's competition venue was chosen here. When Fang Yan and Zhang Chen arrived, #1 Practice Hall was completely surrounded. Not only were the spectator seats in the hall filled with Glory Martial Arts School students, but even the windows were filled with heads. Wang Hui was also in the middle of the crowd. His face was still bandaged and he stared viciously at Fang Yan, who was smiling and waving to the surrounding students. Brother Hui, don't be anxious. This kid is going to be out of luck soon, Chen Jian, who was standing beside Wang Hui, said with a cold smile. Zhang Qin isn't someone who knows how to show mercy, Wang Hui said with a ruthless voice. Let's just wait and watch a good show. For the sake of fairness, Zhang Qin even specially invited a referee. The referee was Glory Martial Arts School's most senior coach, Lin Ping'an. Lin Ping'an had been a coach at Glory Martial Arts School for more than 20 years, and had practically joined when Glory Martial Arts School was founded. Not only was he the coach of Glory Martial Arts School, he was also the Deputy Secretary General of Huaqing Martial Arts Association. Lin Ping'an was a short old man with slicked back hair and a tuft of goatee. He wore a black tang suit and indeed looked like a master. He habitually hid one hand behind his back, stood between Fang Yan and Zhang Qin and exhorted, in the way of exchanging pointers, friendship comes first, competition comes second. Don't hurt your opponent's vital points and don't take his life. If anyone breaks the rules, then not only will he lose this match, but he will also lose his future. You two are both young, so remember not to fight fiercely. That would put you at a disadvantage. Zhang Qin repeatedly agreed, saying that he definitely wouldn't. Fang Yan was even more vehement in his denial, saying that they were all friends, so how could he hurt his friend or take his friend's life? That was the act of a beast. Lin Ping and took 3 steps back and made a gesture with his hands. Fang Yan and Zhang Qin understood, and both of them retreated, putting a distance between them. Are you ready? Lin Ping asked. Ready, Fang Yan and Zhang Qin answered at the same time. Begin. Lin Ping and raised his hand and chopped down forcefully, as if he was chopping a hard object. Dong dong dong, Zhang Qin took the lead to attack, his body slightly bent as he charged towards Fang Yan's position. Zhang Qin was around 180 centimeters tall. According to common sense, he wasn't too tall, so he couldn't compete with others in terms of strength. He wasn't short enough and he wouldn't have much of an advantage in speed. However, this was Zhang Qin's specialty. He had both strength and speed. This was also the reason why he repeatedly defeated strong opponents in Huaqing's freestyle arena and achieved good results. He charged towards Fang Yan like a raging bull, and the distance between the two was closed in an instant. A huge fist headed straight for Fang Yan's face. The veins on his fist bulged and the bones in his fingers were cracking. The whistling wind broke the silence of the scene, and a cold and dangerous aura headed straight for Fang Yan. Swords could kill and so could sword aura. Fists could hurt and so could the wind generated by the fists. Fang Yan was sure that Zhang Qin only had a body of strength honed through years of persistent training and rich combat experience. He definitely didn't have internal energy like them. However, he could actually use his body's strength to create such a powerful wind. It was enough to show that he lived up to his reputation as the number one in Huaqing. The closer the fist was to the face, the darker the color of the fist. In the end, it turned crimson red as if it was about to burn during the process of the punch. Fang Yan took a step back. He only took a step back and just happened to avoid the attack of Zhang Qin's domineering punch. Clatter. The students of Glory Martial School applauded vigorously, and some even cheered loudly. Did you see that? Our coach Zhang beat that kid back with one punch. That's right, whether it's a mule or a horse, he's going to show his true colors now. Coach's punch was so domineering. If Fang Yan dared to take it head-on with his small body, he would definitely be sent flying. His first punch missed, but this didn't affect Zhang Qin's performance. His body moved forward rapidly, his body pouncing forward, his hands clenched into claws, but his right leg was raised high. Fist and knee. This was a combo. In other words, Zhang Qin's first punch and his current first move were the same move. His first punch went straight for the face in order to hit Fang Yan or to beat Fang Yan back. After hitting Fang Yan, the second move was used and Fang Yan was already on the ground, unable to get up. Since he couldn't hit Fang Yan, the second move was used and Fang Yan was still in extreme danger. This was because he was the one attacking. Advancing forward was always faster than retreating. When the first punch was thrown, he had already calculated the difference between Fang Yan's retreating speed and his advancing speed. This was experience. Combat experience. Whoosh, Fang Yan's body quickly fell to the left, at a 90-degree vertical angle. His left hand landed on the ground, and the strength of his wrist supported his whole body's weight, so he didn't fall heavily on the ground. The students of Glory Martial School were even more excited. Did you see that? Coach knocked him down. In less than 3 moves, with my experience, Coach will win in less than 3 moves. Coach, give him a vicious blow. Seeing Fang Yan fall to the ground, Zhang Qin's eyes flashed with an ominous glint. His raised right leg suddenly stomped down, ruthlessly stepping on Fang Yan's abdomen. Gotcha, his foot missed. The brown leather boots on his feet stomped heavily on the wooden floor of the training hall, and fine cracks instantly appeared on the floor. The cracks were still spreading and the cracks were getting bigger and bigger, looking like they were about to explode. Fang Yan, who had one hand on the ground, avoided that killer move, and his 2 legs nimbly twisted towards Zhang Qin's lower body. Using Zhang Qin's legs as a new fulcrum, his body turned 360 degrees. Dragon tail cut. This was one of the killer moves of the Tai Chi stick formula, famous for attacking the lower body. Even if the dragon's tail was stuck, it could only be cut off with one cut. Not to mention the 2 legs of an ordinary person. Zhang Qin's lower body was unstable, and his huge body fell to the ground. Bang! A loud sound reverberated through the air, causing everyone present to tremble in fear. It ended just like that. Chapter 109. What kind of battle was the most exciting? The 2 opponents were evenly matched, fighting to the death with their fists. This kind of battle was exciting and pleasing to the eye. Zhang Qin punched hard enough, but he couldn't touch the corner of Fang Yan's clothes. Fang Yan knocked down Zhang Chen, but no matter how much strength he used, it gave people a feeling of being light. The onlookers all said that it was too unsatisfying. Fang Yan supported himself with his palms and jumped up from the ground. He cupped his hands to Zhang Chen and said with a smile, "Thank you for letting me win. Coach Zhang has good skills." Everyone condemned Fang Yan for being too shameless. He had won and still said such sarcastic words. No matter how good Coach Zhang's skills were, he was still defeated by you. Teacher Fang Yan felt very wronged. This was the standard saying on the martial arts field. If someone else said it, it would be noble and unquestionable integrity. How could it be that he said it as shameless? Zhang Chen got up from the ground. Because of the heavy fall just now, his chest was still in pain. What made him want to vomit blood was that the match had ended before he could even touch Fang Yan's skin. He couldn't enjoy the pleasure of fighting and couldn't test the depth of Fang Yan. One could imagine the grievance in his heart. He stared at Fang Yan angrily and said, "This is not over." Fang Yan laughed and said, "What do I have to do to stop?" "Let's fight again," Zhang Chen said. "Let's have a good fight. Hit my head, hit my flesh, hit my bones. Let me feel pain. A heart-wrenching pain. This is a fight." "That's not good, is it?" Fang Yan refused. Just now Mr. Lin said that in the way of learning from each other, friendship comes first and competition comes second. You can't hurt people's vital parts or take their lives. If we fight fiercely here, won't we be a joke to the watching students? You and I are both teachers. We can't set a bad example for our students. Zhang Chen felt the pain in his chest increase. It was as if someone had stabbed a knife into the original foundation. Lin Pingyan knew Zhang Chen's character as a martial arts fanatic. It was unrealistic to expect him to give up just like that. He coughed and said, "I did say that friendship comes first and competition comes second, but I also hope that the two teachers can bring an exciting battle to everyone." Lin Pingyan looked at the surrounding Glory students and asked, "Are you guys satisfied?" "No." The students of Glorious Academy shouted in unison. Lin Pingyan smiled and said, "It's not just you guys who didn't get enough of it. Even I, this old man, didn't get enough of it. I didn't even see what was going on before the battle ended. What a pity." In the end, Lin Pingyan still sided with Zhang Chen. If Fang Yan defeated Zhang Chen and attempted to further injure Zhang Chen's body, he would definitely stand up and shout that friendship comes first and competition comes second. You can't hurt people's bodies or take their lives. However, right now, Zhang Chen still wanted to continue fighting. Lin Pingyan could only go against his will and speak up for Zhang Chen. Fang Yan looked at Lin Pingyan and asked, "Old Mr. Lin, do you mean for us to fight again?" "Fight again?" Lin Pingyan said. "Give us a good fight." Fang Yan's eyes turned cold. He smiled and nodded, saying, "Then as you wish." The distance between Fang Yan and Zhang Chen was pulled apart again. Lin Pingyan stood between the two and asked, "Are you two ready?" "Ready." Fang Yan and Zhang Chen said at the same time. "Begin." Lin Pingyan's hand chopped down again. As soon as Lin Pingyan's voice fell, Fang Yan's body disappeared from where he stood. "Oh!" someone exclaimed. Because when their eyes scanned the figure of Fang Yan, he had already rushed in front of Zhang Chen and punched towards Zhang Chen's face. He rushed forward and punched in a straight line. It was exactly the same move that Zhang Chen had just used. The difference was that Fang Yan was faster and punched more fiercely. It was so fast that you couldn't catch his trace and so fast that you couldn't hear the whistling wind. Zhang Chen wanted to dodge but found that he couldn't. Just when he wanted to retreat, the fist was already in front of him. Bang! Fang Yan's fist hit Zhang Chen's face. With a crack sound, Zhang Chen's nose was broken. The nose was one of the most vulnerable parts of the human body. A slight hit would cause blood to spurt out. Dark red blood sprayed out and splashed in the direction that Fang Yan was rushing from. Seeing that Fang Yan's face was about to be dyed with blood, he turned on one leg and avoided the scattered blood. He had already jumped into the arms of Zhang Chen. Fang Yan's hands turned into claws and grabbed Zhang Chen's camouflage sportswear. He pulled his body down and his right knee hit his stomach. If the punch to the bridge of the nose was still bearable, then the lethal force of the knee hitting the abdomen was too great. Even if Zhang Chen's resistance to blows was amazing, he still couldn't help but let out a cry of pain. Ugh! Zhang Chen groaned and his body staggered backward. Dong dong! When he was about to take the third step out of danger, Fang Yan's body leaned forward slightly and grabbed his arm. Like a dragonfly touching the water. He pushed and pulled. He pushed forward to reduce the force and pulled back to control it. Then, Zhang Chen's body fell in the direction of Fang Yan again. So dirty. Fang Yen frowned when he saw his blood-stained face and clothes. With a kick, Zhang Chen's body flew into the air. Boom! Such a big piece of meat fell on the floor, making a sound that sent chills down one's spine. Falling from such a high place, his bones would probably fall apart, right? A fatal blow. Fang Yen used Zhang Chen's move to defeat him. Zhang Chen didn't have any ability to fight back. What did this mean? It meant that the two of them weren't from the same world. They weren't on the same level at all. Fang Yen could completely suppress him and beat him down. The whole place was quiet. No one talked, no one laughed, and no one answered Fang Yan's question. Even their breathing felt so heavy. Zhang Chen, Glory Martial Arts School's ace coach, Huaqing's 3-time MMA champion, and was still called Huaqing's MMA king. How could he be so weak in front of this man? Although it wasn't hot-blooded, it wasn't exciting, and there were no punches hitting flesh. However, everyone was shocked by what they saw. Shocked by his strength. Shocked by his unbelievable strength. They felt their hearts pounding as if they were about to jump out of their chests. Fang Yen scanned the whole place and said with a smile, "Sorry? I can't show you the scene of you punching me and I kicking you." Glory Martial Arts School students finally came to their senses. Some of the students ran toward Zhang Chen, wanting to help him up and check on his injuries. More people surrounded Fang Yen, preparing to use their advantage in numbers to punish this arrogant and ruthless person. Wang Hui's expression was ferocious. He led the crowd forward and roared, "Stop him and avenge the coach." Fang Yen didn't hide or evade. He stood proudly without fear. He stood in place without moving, as if waiting for those students who had lost control of their emotions to rush over. Baldy was alone. Seeing that these students wanted to gang up on Fang Yen, he desperately squeezed forward and shouted, "Get out of the way, get out of the way, I'm from the security department." Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan were also watching from the side. They didn't expect these students to dare to stand in a circle. By the time the two of them reacted, they were already squeezed to the back of the crowd. "Hero, they want to bully junior martial uncle," Fang Haohan said aloud. "They can't bully him," Fang Yingying said with a cold smile. As he spoke, his hands reached forward and grabbed a student's shoulder with each hand. With a forceful swing, their bodies fell to one corner. Fang Yingying didn't even look at them. He had already grabbed the back of the neck of the other two students, Lin Ping, and was checking Zhang Chen's body. Seeing that these guys wanted to gang up on him, he immediately stopped them. "What are you doing? What do you want? Get back, get back. Disciplinary team, disciplinary team." The first student rushed toward Fang Yen. He punched Fang Yan's body. Fang Yen leaned his body slightly and grabbed his arm. The opponent's fist didn't stop. He stabbed the chest of a student on the opposite side. Another attacker slashed at Fang Yan's ribs with his saber. Fang Yen pulled his saber back and the student spun on the spot. He became a sandbag in front of Fang Yen, and was beaten black and blue by countless people. The third attacker was sent flying by Fang Yen with a kick. The fourth attacker was knocked to the ground by Fang Yan's knee. Fang Yen moved. He actually took the initiative to walk toward the crowd and toward the entrance of hall number 1. "If I want to leave, who can stop me?" Fang Yen shouted arrogantly. He reached out his hand. While the student in front of him was still hesitating whether to hit his face or kick him, he slapped him down. At the same time, the two of them quickly changed positions. It turned out that Fang Yen was behind him and the student was in front of him. In an instant he became the student in front of Fang Yen. He pushed the student behind him and used his body as a sandbag to block the 5 to 6 fists and more than 10 feet behind him. No matter how ferocious the punches were, no matter how sharp the kicks were, no matter how fierce the attacks were, they were all hitting the air in front of him. Fang Yen was besieged by countless people. However, these people couldn't touch his skin or even the corner of his clothes. He raised his foot and walked forward. He didn't turn left or right. He walked straight out as if he was taking a leisurely stroll in a courtyard. Some students rushed over, but when they saw Fang Yan's smiling face, they quickly retreated. More students parted on both sides, allowing Fang Yen to walk past them effortlessly. Occasionally, someone wanted to sneak up on him but was kicked to the ground by Fang Yen. In the end, no one dared to stand up to challenge Fang Yen. They wanted to challenge this terrifying demon. Fang Yen stopped in his tracks. He stood on the stone road. He stood in the middle of the campus. He glanced at the glorious students in front and behind him and said loudly, "Are you not convinced? Do you feel like a wild chicken with weeds? I'm stronger than you. I'm stronger than you. Now you can only do one thing. Raise your head and look up to the existence of people like me." Chapter 110. At that time, the red sun in the sky had just bloomed a warm light, and the bright red triangular plum blossoms had covered the gray mottled walls. Unknown birds were singing among the tall and straight sycamore trees. When they were combing their feathers, they accidentally shook off the dew on the leaves and sprinkled it on the faces and bodies of the students. It was cold, with the refreshing smell of the leaves. It was an intoxicating and breathtaking morning. The whole place was silent. No one spoke, and even their breathing slowed down. Everyone was staring at the man standing in the middle of the crowd, the man who was invincible when he fought against 100 people. He was delicate and handsome, and his face was repulsive. He was gentle and modest, and he was arrogant and arrogant. He was cruel and merciless, and he was compassionate. He had defeated the ace coach of Glory. He had said that Glory students were useless. Everyone should hate him and ostracize him. However, from the bottom of their hearts, they had a strange impression of him. From the beginning until now, he had not seriously injured any of the students who had surrounded him. Even if he said it too bluntly and harshly, didn't this prove that he was a frank and sincere man? People who practiced martial arts most admired those who were stronger than them. Fang Yin had conquered them with his valiant strength and won their heartfelt respect. Except for Fang Yin, who else could be like him? Qin Yitian slightly raised her head, and under the direct light, her beautiful eyes were full of brilliance. She looked at Fang Yin in the distance and said with a light smile, "You see, this is the man I like." The smile on Tongqing's face instantly froze. He turned around and looked at Qin Yitian's delicate and flawless side profile and said, "Don't always say such things, okay? I feel very sad when I hear it. Mr. Fang is indeed very powerful and I am proud of him now. But do you know that one sentence of yours can completely destroy other people's good mood?" Qin Yitian still looked at Fang Yin and said without turning her head, "But what should I do? I don't like to lie and pretend." Tangqing felt like he was about to cry. Surrounded by Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan, and accompanied by Baldi, Fang Yin walked out of the crowd and walked toward the gate of Glory Martial Arts School. Baldi felt that he had never looked so good before. He thought that his bald head, which had only a few hairs left, must be shining so brightly that they could not open their eyes. He waved his hand at the Radiant Academy students who were following behind him and saluting him, saying, go back, there's no need to send me off." After thinking for a moment, he added, "You little brats, if you dare to cause trouble at the entrance of Rosefinch Secondary again, just wait and see how I'll deal with you. If I can't deal with you, I'll let teacher Fang Yin deal with you." The students of Glory Martial School chuckled, not taking Baldi's threat seriously at all. "You still dare to laugh, see if I don't tear your mouths apart." Baldi shouted angrily, feeling that he had lost face. "Can't you see that I'm wearing a big tiger skin? Why aren't you guys afraid at all? I'm really worried for you guys." Baldi. Fang Yin couldn't help but shout. According to Fang Yan's plan after the speech just now, he should not speak anymore. What he needed to do was to hold his head high and his chest out. With a warm, modest, pure, and enigmatic smile on his face, he would walk through the crowd under the protection of his 2 bodyguards and walk out of the school gate. Of course, the image of these 2 bodyguards was really too bad. One was short and fat and the other was tall and skinny. It would be best if they could be swapped. They were not worthy of the noble style that he had created with his beautiful artistic conception. Although red leaves needed green leaves to go with it, Fang Yin had every reason to believe that even if he was placed in the middle of a group of red leaves, he would still give off the feeling that he was outshining others. Yes, he was such an ordinary yet not ordinary, simple, yet not concise man. If the appearance of Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan was barely acceptable, then Baldi following behind him and acting cute was really intolerable. "Please, you're just losing hair, not blind. How can you say such things at this time?" Thus, Fang Yin had no choice but to scold him. Hearing Fang Yin call out his name, Baldi became even more proud. He glanced at the glorious students proudly, with a look that said, "Don't you dare offend me or I'll beat you up." He trotted to the front of Fang Yin and said, "Mr. Fang, are you looking for me?" "Don't speak," Fang Yin said. "Okay." Baldi nodded in agreement. After thinking for a while, he asked again, "Why?" "Don't speak." "Okay, I won't speak. But tell me why." Fang Yingying beat him up. "Fang Yin." A hoarse voice shouted loudly. Fang Yin suddenly turned around and saw Zhang Qin, who had been beaten to the ground by him, walking quickly towards him with the help of a few students. Fang Yin's eyelids drooped slightly. He didn't know why Zhang Qin still chased after him at this time. Could it be that he was still not convinced? Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan looked at each other and stood in front of Fang Yin, one on the left and one on the right. Baldy was a beat slower, and he used his thin body to stand in front of hero and man. Fang Yan had the urge to kick them all away. Zhang Qin is already injured like this, why are you guys standing in front of me? Even if you want to steal the limelight, you don't have to be so blatant, right? Coach Zhang, are you okay? Coach, how are your injuries? Coach? Wherever Zhang Qin went, the students would greet him respectfully. They didn't look down on him just because he lost the battle with Fang Yan. On the contrary, after witnessing Fang Yan's true strength, the students of Glory Martial Arts School respected and admired Zhang Qin even more. It should be known that not everyone could last so long in front of Fang Yan. If they asked themselves honestly, they wouldn't be able to do it. Zhang Qin ignored the concerned questions of the students and walked straight towards Fang Yan. His body was slightly bent, and it was obvious that his shoulder or spine was injured. His right leg was a little strained when he took a step. He probably sprained it or injured it. His face was covered in blood, his hair was messy, and his clothes were wrinkled and covered in dust. He looked miserable. However, his eyes were still bright and sharp. He stared at Fang Yan without blinking, as if he was afraid that if he blinked, Fang Yan would disappear. Zhang Qin finally stood in front of Fang Yan. He raised his head and looked at Fang Yan's eyes with a serious expression. Fang Yan didn't speak and neither did Zhang Qin. The two of them looked at each other affectionately, as if they were lovers about to part. Being stared at by a man like that for a long time, Fang Yan really felt a little uncomfortable. He cupped his hands towards Zhang Qin and said, "Swords have no eyes, fists and feet are merciless. Sometimes on the martial arts field, even if you want to stop, you have no choice. If I hit too hard, please forgive me, Coach Zhang." "I want to worship you as my teacher," Zhang Qin said. "What?" Fang Yan couldn't believe his ears. "I want to worship you as my teacher," Zhang Qin said again. His voice was louder than before, and his expression was more determined and persistent. "Please accept me as your disciple." The teachers and students of Glory Martial School were all stunned. Zhang Qin wanted to worship Fang Yan as his teacher? Zhang Qin was their coach, their teacher. If he worshipped Fang Yan as his teacher, then what should they call Fang Yan? With such a close relationship, how would they fight in the future? Fang Yan looked at Zhang Qin's eyes and knew that this man wasn't lying. He really wanted to worship him as his teacher. Fang Yan refused and said, "Coach Zhang, don't joke around. How am I qualified to be your teacher? Coach Zhang has ample stamina and rich fighting experience. As long as he practices diligently, he will definitely have even more extraordinary achievements in the future." "I'm not joking. I really want to worship you as my teacher. I definitely want to worship you as my teacher," Zhang Qin said with a heavy voice. Because his emotions were too agitated, the wound on his chest was pulled, and he even covered his mouth and coughed a few times. "Before today, before sparring with you, I also thought that I had extraordinary strength and rich fighting experience, and that there was almost no one in Huaqing who could match me. But after sparring with Mr. Fang, I realized how laughable my thoughts were. There is always someone better than you out there. The old ancestor has never lied to us. I know how big the gap between us is, a gap higher than the sky and deeper than the sea. You have the qualifications to be my teacher, but I'm afraid that I don't have the qualifications to be your disciple." Zhang Qin bowed his head and bowed, almost using a pleading tone to say, "Mr. Fang, please accept me as your disciple." Fang Yan sighed softly and said, "Coach Zhang, I can't accept you as my disciple. I'm just a teacher, a language teacher. The martial arts I learned are to strengthen my body, and I've never thought of using it for anything else. I'm a low-key person and I don't want my life to become overly complicated. So let's maintain the status quo. You continue to be the coach of Brilliant Martial Arts School, and I'll continue to be my language teacher at Rosefinch Secondary. When we're free, let's meet up for a drink. It's that simple." Fang Yan waved his hand and said, "I have to go back. The next 2 periods are language classes." Zhang Qin tried his best to straighten his back, and said to the students who were supporting him on both sides, "Let go of me." "Coach, let go," Zhang Qin shouted. The students didn't dare to disobey, and could only let go of his arms. Thump. Zhang Qin knelt on the ground. Under the gazes and astonishment of hundreds of Brilliant Martial Arts School teachers and students, he knelt on the stone pavement in the middle of the school grounds. "I beg you," Zhang Qin shouted at Fang Yan's back. Chapter 111. A man's knees were gold. Zhang Qin's kneeling really gave Fang Yan a headache. Accept it? That was not realistic. It was not like what was written in novels or movies. The reason was that kung fu was only passed on to males and not females. Although Fang Yan knew that there were indeed many sects that still adhered to such a rule, they would rather let their kung fu be lost than teach it to outsiders. However, Fang Tai Chi was open to the public. Whether it was Fang Yingying or Fang Haohan, they were not members of the Fang family. Mo Qingdi, who was originally trained by the Fang family to be their successor, was also not a member of the Fang family. He was just a language teacher. He could run away at any time. His own Tai Chi heart was stagnant. Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan's jobs had not been settled. He had too many important things to do. How could he have time and energy to train disciples? Refuse? That was for sure. However, if it was not handled well, it might hurt this sincere and persistent man. This was also what Fang Yan did not want to see. He walked back again and stood in front of Zhang Qin. He said, "Coach Zhang, you are forcing me." Zhang Qin looked up at Fang Yan and said, "I know. In front of my students, in front of my colleagues, in the school where I have worked for 10 years, in front of a man who is about the same age as my students, I am also in a difficult position. I'm also forcing myself. But, Teacher Fang, you can't understand what Kung Fu means to me. You don't know what he means to me. He is all I have. I live for it, because I still have a body of martial arts. I want to improve. I want to be strong. I want to be like Mr. Fang. I know that I only have brute force. I haven't found the skill to use it. Mr. Fang, please teach me. Mr. Fang, please teach me. What should I do?" Needless to say, Zhang Chen's comprehension was very high. After exchanging blows with Fang Yan, he had already discovered his shortcoming. In the past, he only used to hit people with force. Today he discovered another realm from Fang Yan. Fang Yan didn't use much strength. When he hit people, it was easy and casual. In fact, he even borrowed the strength of the attacker. But you didn't even get to touch the corner of his clothes before you were knocked down by him. This was the difference between the two of them. Of course, this was only what he could see with his naked eye. There were also many things that he couldn't see with his naked eyes. We often say that there are 3 realms in life. The first realm is to see mountains as mountains and water as water. The second realm was to not see mountains as mountains and not see water as water. The third level was to see mountains as mountains and rivers as water as water. It was the same for martial arts. Zhang Qin was still in the first stage of seeing mountains as mountains and water as water, while Fang Yan was already in the second stage of seeing mountains as mountains and water as water. Therefore, there was an insurmountable barrier between the two of them. Fang Yan could clearly see through Zhang Qin, but Zhang Qin couldn't see the depth of Fang Yan's strength. Fang Yan raised his eyebrows and said, "Coach Zhang, why make it so difficult for me to force you? To be honest, before we met today we weren't very familiar. You don't understand me and I don't understand you. Even when I walked into the gates of Glory Martial Arts School, I still had some prejudice against you. I thought it was because of what happened that night that you deliberately challenged me to take revenge. Of course, now that I've come into contact with Coach Zhang, I know that my thoughts were gauging the heart of a gentleman with my own mean measure. Coach Zhang's character and strength are both trustworthy. But I don't think this is the reason why I should accept you as my disciple. You're anxious to improve, anxious to become stronger. I'm the same as you. I'm also anxious to improve. I also have stronger people to defeat. I'm very busy every day. So you too. So, let's talk about becoming your disciple in the future." Seeing the disappointment and pain in Zhang Chen's eyes, Fang Yan couldn't bear it and said, "However, we can be friends. In the future, if you have any doubts or questions, you can ask and we can discuss them together. 2 people discussing is always better than 1 person thinking bitterly, right? Come, get up. Don't kneel." As Fang Yan spoke, he bent down to help Zhang Chen up from the ground. Kneeling in front of him in front of so many people, what was this? Fang Yan couldn't bear it. "No, I must become your disciple." Zhang Chen still insisted on kneeling on the ground, his expression firm and voice stubborn as he said, "I know my actions today were too rash. I know your rules. Accepting a disciple doesn't just look at the disciple's comprehension, it's more important to look at the disciple's temperament. You still don't understand me, so not accepting me is a matter of course. I will persist, I will definitely wait until you are willing to accept me as your disciple." Fang Yan looked deeply at Zhang Qin, patted his shoulder hard and said, "Find some alcohol to rub your wounds. Don't do any extreme exercises these few days." After saying that, Fang Yan turned and left. Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan, the 2 dutiful bodyguards, immediately followed. Baldy wanted to say a few more harsh words, but he didn't know what else to say after holding it in for a long time. He waved his hand and left behind Fang Yan in a very stylish manner. "Fang Yan. At the entrance of Brilliant Martial Arts School, a clear girl's voice came from behind. Fang Yen turned around and saw Qin Yitian in rosefinch uniform running towards him. Tang Qing was a competent follower, following closely behind Qin Yitian. "Why are you two here?" Fang Yen asked doubtfully. Qin Yitian looked up and smiled lightly, saying, "If you say you only saw me now, I will pretend to be deceived by you." "Okay." Fang Yen knew that his lie was seen through by Qin Yitian. He had indeed seen Qin Yitian and Tang Qing standing outside the crowd a long time ago. In a strange place like Brilliant Martial Arts School, where there were many boys and almost zero girls, it was hard not to notice a stunning girl like Qin Yitian. Fang Yen smiled awkwardly and said, "What's the matter?" "Nothing," Qin Yitian said. "I ran over to ask you a question." "What question?" "Fang Yen, I like you more and more, what should I do?" Fang Yen blushed and pretended to be angry. "What are you talking about? Hurry back to class." He looked at Tang Qing and said, "Tang Qing, you have to supervise Qin Yitian to class. You are not allowed to skip class or else I will deduct your conduct points." After saying that, Fang Yen turned around and left. His footsteps were swift and fast. Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan looked at each other, hesitated for a moment, and then quickly chased in the direction that Fang Yen left. "Junior Martial Uncle, who is this little girl? Why is she so bold and fierce?" Fang Yingying followed behind Fang Yen and asked. "I feel that she is very dangerous." Fang Haohan heard that the woman was in danger and said, "I will go take care of her." Fang Yingying stopped Fang Haohan, who wanted to go back and beat the girl, and said, Junior Martial Uncle is very dangerous. Don't worry, no one is safer than you. Even I am 100 times more dangerous than you." Fang Haohan thought carefully but still couldn't figure out why he was so safe. Junior Martial Uncle and Fang Yingying's kung fu were better than his. It shouldn't be. "She is prettier than Miss Yi," Fang Yingying praised. After a pause, he thought of Miss Ye's ferocious look when she beat people, so he quickly changed his words and said, "She is as beautiful as Miss Yi? I don't think she is very beautiful." Baldy was very proud but deliberately showed a trace of disdain and said, "She is just Qin Yitian. She walks in front of me every day." Baldy was the school security guard, and his duty was to protect the safety of the students at the school gate. Of course, he occasionally cooperated with the school to check if the students were wearing their student IDs. Qin Yitian indeed walked in front of Baldy every day after class. Xiaxia Mountain. It was the highest mountain in the Lingnan area and also a famous tourist attraction in Huaqing. Because the 9th class performed well when they received the Wu Rin investigation group, the school specially allocated a sum of money for the 9th class's travel expenses as a reward. After a discussion with the students, Fang Yen chose Xiaxia Mountain, which was near Huaqing. They would leave on Saturday and go back on Sunday afternoon. They would spend a night on the mountain. Every student looked forward to watching the sunrise from the top of the mountain. However, in order to persuade the school to agree to their plan, Fang Yen tried his best to persuade Lu Chaoga. The luxurious bus spun and spun on the rugged mountain road. Fang Yen stood beside the driver with his back facing the mountain rocks and grass in front of him. He looked at the bus full of Class 9 students and said, "Students, come, let's sing a song." "What song?" The lively Su Ying was the first to ask. Fang Yen thought about it and felt that he was not good at this kind of thing. He said, "Who is the member of the sports committee?" "That's me." Su Ying's cheerful voice sounded again in the bus. Fang Yen looked at Su Ying and said, "Then Su Ying, you take the lead and sing a song. Everyone sing along. Since it's a trip, how can there be no singing?" "Then let's sing A Love Letter, by Teresa Teng. I like this song very much." Su Ying looked at Fang Yen and said, "A love letter of yours makes my face blush and my heart skip a beat. Ready, go. A love letter of yours makes my face blush and my heart skip a beat. Your frankness and passion make me not know what to do. Your tender and sweet feelings are like the rhythm of nature lingering in my ears. Your love makes me think about you day and night." The students' cheerful and melodious voices came from the bus. However, when Fang Yen heard this song, he felt restless. He looked at Su Ying, who was singing passionately, and thought to himself, could she be the one who stuffed a paper crane love letter into my lesson plan? Chapter 112. The stream flowed gently and the waterfall flowed violently. The colorful mountain scenery made people feel like they were in a fairyland painting. In the 10th month of the human world, fiery red maple leaves covered the mountains and plains like sunset. This was the origin of the name Sunset Sacrifice Mountain. Beside a small stream in the depths of the mountain forest, 2 young and cute girls were sitting on a small stool, concentrating on drawing on a drawing board. They had obviously been here for a long time. The meticulous painting on the drawing board had already entered the stage of rendering. The so-called rendering was used to express the brightness and darkness of the painting on the draft. Using two relatively large big cloud brushes, one would be dipped in ink while the other would be dipped in water. Before the ink dried, they would use water to release the ink, creating a natural transition. Rendering was the foundation of a painting's success. If the ink was too thick, it would be too dark. If the ink was too shallow, it would appear blank. Therefore, the two girls didn't dare to be careless in the slightest. After finishing the last stroke, Yuan Lin threw the brush in her hand into the toolbox and seriously looked at the work on the drawing board. She said with a smile, "It seems that there's a piece that hasn't been released. It seems that the control of the fire isn't good enough. I can only paint this piece as a stone when I'm dyeing it. However, in this way, my Sunset Sacrifice autumn charm can only be called Sunset Sacrifice scenery. What a failure." The girl was wearing white casual pants, red casual shoes, and a white t-shirt with a cartoon pattern printed on it. She had a small cherry mouth and a straight nose. Her skin was delicate and white, and her facial features were so exquisite that there were almost no flaws. Her long black hair fell over her shoulders, making her look obedient and cute. Not hearing a reply from her companion, Yuan Lin turned to look at Jiang Qin, who was not far behind her, and shouted, Dear, what are you doing? Can you hear me?" Jiang Qin raised his head and glanced at Yuan Lin, then quickly shifted his gaze back to the drawing board in front of him. He said, "Wait. I haven't finished rendering yet." Her long hair was tied into countless small braids, revealing a clean and cute forehead. Some people said that those who dared to reveal their smooth forehead were either handsome or beautiful. This saying might not be suitable for everyone. After all, Sister Feng also had such a hairstyle. But it was fully fulfilled on this girl. The sky blue skinny jeans were stained with a lot of paint, and the colorful canvas shoes looked a little old, but it gave off an artistic feeling. She wore a white singlet, revealing a large portion of her snow-white neck and sexy collarbone. It was covered with a plaid striped shirt. Only the bottom two buttons of the shirt were fastened, making it look casual and fashionable. She was also a beautiful girl. At first glance, she looked somewhat similar to Yuan Lin. However, upon closer inspection, one could see that the two of them were clearly different. Yuan Lin looked obedient and docile, but her personality was lively and quick-witted, while Jiang Qin's dressing style was like a ghost horse, but it gave people a lazy and gentle feeling. Their looks and personalities contradicted each other, yet they were a perfect match. Perhaps this is what we often say: when a person lacks something, he will chase after it. Your painting skills are better than mine. Teacher also said that you are more talented than me. Usually you finish painting before me. Why are you slower than me today? A smile appeared on the corner of Yuan Lin's mouth. She suddenly ran toward Jiang Qin and said, "What are you painting? Let me see." Clatter, and Jiang Qin immediately put down the brush and quickly took out a piece of white paper from under the drawing board to cover the painting he was just developing. Yuan Lin could only see a vague shadow, so she couldn't determine what Jiang Qin was painting. She pouted and said, "Jiang Qin, you are not loyal. I have shown you my painting. Why don't you show me yours? Didn't you say you want to paint maple falling full stream?" Not far from them there was a small stream. The water was clear and there were countless withered maple leaves falling from it. Jiang Qin liked it at first sight, so he wanted to paint this scene. He also gave it a name, Maple Falling Full Stream. "Yuan Lin, you are so annoying," Jiang Qin said with a red face. "How am I annoying? I just want to see your painting. If you want to see mine, please feel free. I'm not going to be secretive like some people are." "Humph, you have a guilty conscience," Yuan Lin said with disdain. She suddenly seemed to understand something. She looked at Jiang Qin with a strange look and said, "Jiang Qin, you are not painting that, are you?" Jiang Qin's cheeks became redder. He pretended to be righteous and said rudely, "How am I feeling guilty? What do I have to feel guilty about? My maple falling full stream is not finished yet. Of course I can't show it to you. I want to show my work in the most perfect way. It is still gray now. Why must I show it to you?" "No." Yuan Lin stared at Jiang Qin with sparkling eyes and said, "That's not the reason. There must be another reason." "No. There is. If I say there isn't, then there isn't. If I say there is, then there is. Think what you want. If you want to prove yourself, then show me your painting." "I won't. Why should I prove it to you? You have a guilty conscience. You are a thief. You are a ghost. Annoying ghost." Amidst the red leaves and green grass, the two girls quarreled with each other. Their coquettish and somewhat embarrassed appearance, and their clear and melodious voice, like the tinkling sound of a clear spring behind them, made people feel relaxed and happy, and made people want to draw them into a painting. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin lay side by side on the maple leaves in the grass, looking at the fiery red maple tree above their heads in a daze. After a long time, Yuan Lin asked, "Are you still thinking about him?" "Thinking?" Jiang Qin sighed softly. "Rather than thinking, it is better to say that I miss him." "Then I still miss him," Yuan Lin said. "For women like us, if we sigh for a man, it means that we have him in our hearts. You can't lie to me because you can't lie to yourself. At our age, saying that love is too extravagant. It is just a beautiful memory in life. In the future, we will experience countless such fragments, and when these pictures are pieced together, it will be our lifetime of love. It is just that my time with him is too short. It is so short that I don't know what to recall even if I try my best." A gentle look, a touching word of love, or even just an ordinary brush of the shoulder, can be the content of memories. Is he really that good? Not good at all. Then why can't you forget him? The best way to forget a relationship is to start a new one. You also know that more than half of the guys on the school hunk list like you. Are you really not willing to give them a chance? They are too childish, Jiang Qin said. That is true. Yuan Lin nodded. They only know how to send flowers, snacks, and write love poems. Their thinking is not mature at all. A man should wield his sword and kill in all directions. A concubine plays the zither, drifts with her husband, and laughs with him 3,000 times. Why don't they understand? A man must first wield his sword and kill in all directions to win a beauty who is willing to play the zither and laugh with him? In the future they will understand, right? Without the precipitation of life experience and the struggle in society, how can they have such a deep and painful understanding? Sigh. Yuan Lin sighed deeply. Sigh. Jiang Qin also sighed deeply. The two women were feeling sentimental about their love that had ended before they even started and their sad and helpless fate when a man's sudden shout woke them up. Jocko here, here. Oh, someone is drawing here. The man spoke in English, so he should be a foreign tourist. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin hurriedly sat up from the grass and saw a tall man with brown hair and blue eyes preparing to look at their drawing. They hurriedly stopped him. What do you want to do? Stop. Thinking that this American might not understand Wuxia language, Yuan Lin said it again in English. Please do not look at other people's things without permission. This is very immoral behavior. There were 3 Americans, 2 Caucasians, and 1 black. They all had the typical tall figure of Westerners, and they were also very good-looking. They carried a huge bag on their backs and had professional Hasselblad cameras around their necks. Seeing 2 excessively beautiful girls jump out of the grass, like 2 fairies falling from the sky, the 3 Americans were pleasantly surprised. Oh, sorry. The dark-skinned Jocko took the initiative to apologize to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. It's my friend who is too rude. We should be considered as half of the same profession. When I saw someone drawing, I couldn't help but want to look. He turned out to be speaking Wuxia language. Although he was not very fluent, there was no problem in communicating. He pointed to the camera hanging around his neck and said, "We are photographers. The photographers of National Geographic magazine. You write the beautiful picture in front of you on paper, and we record the beautiful picture with the camera. We are all artists, aren't we?" Hearing that the man claimed to be a photographer of National Geographic magazine, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were a little relieved. National Geographic was a very famous travel magazine in the world, and both of them were die-hard fans of National Geographic. After so many years of reading the magazine, now seeing their staff, they felt a sense of surprise and familiarity. Seeing the 2 girls let down their guard, the smile on Jacko's face became more charming. He took the initiative to reach out to Yuan Lin and said, "Hello, I'm Jocko. This is my companion Mason. Oh, the one who shook hands with your friend is Bolton." After the introduction, Jocko looked around professionally and said to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, "2 beautiful ladies, I have a very important thing to ask of you. Please promise me." "What is it?" "Can you be our models?" Jocko said sincerely. Chapter 113. Models? Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were confused. Weren't they here to take pictures of the scenery? Why did they have to take pictures of people? Yes. Jocko nodded seriously. If you have read National Geographic, you should know that we like the scenery and beautiful pictures. Everything valuable or meaningful needs to be recorded by our cameras. We came to Mount Xiaoxia to take pictures of the maple leaves on the mountain. But I think if we only take pictures of the maple leaves, the picture will be too monotonous. The fair-skinned Bolton pointed to the surrounding environment and said in English, "Look, the red maple leaves, the slowly flowing stream, the fallen leaves in the stream, the bright sunlight peeking through the treetops, and the beautiful girls painting in the maple forest. Oh God, what a moving picture. This must be the work of God. I can't wait." Yes. Mason stood in front of Jiang Qin, his eyes filled with uncontrollable greed. "If you are willing to be our models, once your photos are published in National Geographic, you will become famous. Famous people all over the world. At that time, not only will your paintings be popular, but you will also become big stars. Promise us." Jocko waited for his friends to express themselves and then began to make a concluding statement. "You see, my colleagues and I are very sincere. We hope that two beautiful girls can walk into our camera, and we also hope that you can be published in National Geographic. One had to know that this magazine wasn't something that just anyone could publish. Even Jessica Alba and Angelina Jolie can't." Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin looked at each other and immediately understood each other's thoughts. Jiang Qin stood up and said, "Thank you for your kindness. But I'm really sorry, we don't want to be models. This is not suitable for us." "How could it not be suitable?" Jacob said anxiously. "You are so beautiful, like a masterpiece of God. The scenery here is so beautiful and also a masterpiece of nature. A beauty matched with a beautiful scenery. Wouldn't they be equally matched? Oh, don't reject us, we'll go crazy." "What a pity," Mason said. "It's not every day that something like this happens. It has been almost a month since we arrived at Wuxia. We have been wandering around Shisha Mountain for 3 days. Today we have finally found the scenery that can truly move one's heart. However, this cannot be separated from the two beautiful ladies. You are the souls in the painting, and the maple leaves that cover the mountains and plains are just your decorations." "I'm really sorry," Yuan Lin said. "We're still students. We don't want to be famous. I don't want to be featured in National Geographic. I hope you can consider it carefully. If you are willing, we are willing to pay you a considerable sum of money. Of course, this will have to wait until your photos are selected by the magazine," Jocko said. He felt very strange. They had used this trick to deceive many girls and women in Wuxia. They had been in Wuxia for a long time. When they had nothing to do, they liked to go to the bar. When those women saw their appearance and identity as Americans, they would flock to them and take the initiative to sleep with them. Even some women who were not very interested in them, when they inadvertently revealed their identity as National Geographic photographers and proposed to take a group of photos that had a sense of art and showcased the lifestyle of women in Wuxia, they immediately lost the ability to resist and obediently followed their orders. However, these two girls had the courage to refuse again and again. Why would they refuse? Didn't they want to become famous overnight? Didn't they like foreign men? Weren't girls of this age the most easily tempted and the most materialistic? Yuan Lin wanted to refuse again, but Jiang Qin reached out and pulled her arm. Yuan Lin looked at Jiang Qin in surprise. Could it be that this girl had fallen for him? "Will there be a fee?" Jiang Qin asked in fluent English. Jocko laughed and said, "Of course. Our fee is the highest in the industry. If we get the money, we will definitely give you a very good fee. If you don't believe us, we can pay some deposit in advance." "We believe you." Jiang Qin smiled sweetly and said, "How should we take the photo?" Jocko and his friend Mason Bolton looked at each other and said, "Just maintain your normal posture when you are painting. Then let's go wash our faces first. Our faces are dirty, it won't look good in photos," Jiang Qin said. "No need." Mason stepped forward and blocked the way of Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. He said, "Just maintain the current state, very good. What we want is the original state." "If that's the case," Jiang Qin said, "that couldn't be better. Can we go to the bathroom first?" Mason frowned slightly, a little unwilling. Jocko pulled him aside and said to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, "Of course, no problem." "You are really a gentleman," Jiang Qin praised. "Thank you for your compliment." Jocko was overjoyed in his heart. He knew that his goal was about to be achieved. These two small fish had taken the bait. Jiang Qin grabbed Yuan Lin's hand and said, "Didn't you say you wanted to go to the bathroom? Let's go together." Yuan Lin thought, when did I say I wanted to go to the bathroom? However, she had already sensed that the atmosphere was not right, so she let Jiang Qin grab her hand and walked away. "Jocko." Mason's tone was not good, and he looked at Jocko with resentment. Jocko made a shushing gesture, signaling Mason to be quiet, and pointed to the drawing board and toolbox not far away. Only then did Mason feel relieved. The drawing board and toolbox were still there, so the two girls would be back soon. There is an old saying in Wuxia, throw a long line to catch a big fish. As long as they are willing to come back, they will definitely go with us. When have we ever failed? I'd better go and take a look, Bolton said worriedly. Jocko nodded and said, that's good. Don't let them go too far. The scenery here is very good. Bolton understood and said, of course. I like it here too. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were alone, so Yuan Lin had a chance to ask, sweetheart, are we really going to be their models? Of course not. Jiang Qin dragged Yuan Lin's hand and hurried away. I'm lying to them. The three of them are not good people. Not good people? Aren't they National Geographic photojournalists? I don't know if they are reporters or not. Didn't you notice? The three of them are standing right in front of us, except for that impassable stream. Those be asterisk stars. Yuan Lin cursed. We don't want our drawings anymore? Safety first, Jiang Qin said. Let's go find the police and ask them to take us to the drawing board. That's all we can do, Yuan Lin said. Let's go faster. We can't go too fast, this place is too remote, don't let them suspect. Just then they heard the sound of something breaking behind them. Jiang Qin knew they were being followed, so he shouted, run. Thus the two little girls broke into a run. Bolton was stunned, knowing that the two girls had seen through their intentions. As he ran, he shouted for his friends, Jocko, Mason. They're running away. Jocko and Mason were talking and laughing, discussing how to divide the ownership of the two girls. Hearing Bolton's shout, Jocko cursed, bitch, and quickly ran in the direction that Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin had just left. Mason was also furious. He ran over and kicked away the two easels on the ground, and also ran in the direction of Jocko. In order to find the scenery that satisfied them, the two girls went to the back mountain that had not been fully developed. The mountain road was rugged and steep, but fortunately both of them were famous athletes in the school, so they ran very fast. They were very fast, and so were Bolton and the others who had been following them. Seeing that they were about to catch up, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin shouted, help! The students happily toured the mountains and rivers, while Fang Yan was thinking about a love letter along the way. Why did Su Ying take the lead in singing that song? Was she trying to hint at something? Mr. Fang, can we take a photo? Several girls in the class ran over and looked at Fang Yan with a smile. You guys go ahead. Fang Yan waved his hand. I'll help you take a photo. Mr. Fang, don't be so stingy, okay? We know you're a celebrity. Take a photo with us, we can show it off to others, saying that you're our class teacher. Qin Yuan pulled Fang Yan's arm and begged. Fang Yan had no choice but to nod and say, okay. One photo. Just one. Thus, the girls were like octopuses, crowding around him and sticking to him from all sides. Fang Yan looked awkward and said, it's too hot, don't stand too close. He was scared by the pornographic photo incident last time. No one cared about his kind reminder. Everyone posed in front of the camera, and the students in charge of taking photos kept pressing the camera button on their mobile phones. Snap, snap. After the group of students finished taking photos, another group of students who were waiting at the side immediately surrounded them. Fang Yan was not only a celebrity in Rosefinch, but he was also very famous in the entire student circle of Huaqing. To be able to take a photo with Mr. Fang Yan was a very prestigious thing for the students. When Fang Yan was stuck in the middle of a group of girls, he saw Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin running over. What's going on? Fang Yan was shocked. There are people who dare to bully the butcher's daughter. Chapter 114. Whether it was a hero or a coward, every man wanted to save a beauty. Fang Yan was surrounded by a group of students taking pictures, and he didn't have time to react. The boys of Class 9 had already crowded around them. Think about it, there were two charming little beauties running and shouting help. Any normal person would have a normal reaction, right? Huang Haoran's eyes were highly myopic, but today he was unusually agile and ran first. He let Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin run past him, and then he opened his arms to intercept them. He pointed at Bolton, who was following closely behind, and scolded, "What are you doing? Why are you chasing them?" Seeing his prey run away, Bolton couldn't suppress the anger in his heart. He pushed Huang Haoran away and said in English, "Go away, you dwarf." Huang Haoran was indeed not tall. When he stood next to the tall Bolton, they looked like a giant and a dwarf. Moreover, Huang Haoran's strength was not as great as Bolton's. Bolton angrily pushed Huang Haoran, and his feet couldn't stand steadily. His body staggered and fell backward. Fortunately, the other boys of Class 9 arrived and supported Huang Haoran's waist from behind. Of course, more boys still came to greet Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, and asked them how they were. A guy even took out 2 bottles of Coca-Cola from his backpack and asked them if they were thirsty and if they wanted to drink some water. Who would drink Coca-Cola when they were thirsty? Huang Haoran's face turned red and he looked at Bolton angrily and said, "How can you scold people? How can you hit people?" Seeing that more and more students gathered, Bolton finally calmed down. He didn't dare to easily hit Huang Haoran again. Bolton didn't want to answer Huang Haoran's question. He looked at Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin reluctantly and turned to leave. "Stop," Huang Haoran shouted in English. He ran up to Bolton and asked loudly, "What right do you have to scold me? What right do you have to hit me? You have to give me an explanation today." This was Huang Haoran's personality. He was straightforward and unwilling to compromise. Bolton was still unwilling to pay attention to Huang Haoran. He glanced at him disdainfully and prepared to leave again. A boy blocked his way. As soon as he turned around, he came face to face with the boy. It was as if he had been waiting for him behind him for a long time. Tang Qing pointed at Huang Haoran and said, "Although I don't like to meddle in other people's business, you still owe him an explanation." Tang Qing spoke in English and Bolton had no language barrier at all. "Go away," Bolton said angrily. He stretched out his furry hand and slapped Tang Qing's forehead, trying to push Tang Qing away as well. But before his hand could reach Tang Qing's face, the back of his hand was slapped. Tang Qing used a lot of force, and the back of Bolton's hand immediately turned purple. After slapping Bolton, Tang Qing looked at Bolton calmly and said, "I don't like men touching my body." After a pause he said, "Girls don't like it either." Wow, the girls who were watching from behind were collectively smitten. Did you see that? Tang Qing is so handsome. Cheng Cheng is really charming, just like Aaron Kwok. He doesn't like men touching his body? Why can't girls do it? It's so sad, isn't it? Bolton was angry. He was completely angry. He was like an enraged lion, at least in terms of physique. He was tall and sturdy, with handsome facial features that were a quarter European. Tang Qing was handsome and had the feeling of a next-door pretty boy. Standing in front of Bolton, he looked thin. However, there was no fear in his eyes when he looked at Bolton. On the contrary, from the disgust on his face, it could be seen that he was looking down on Bolton's confrontation from a high position. For him, this was just a slightly bigger ant. "You damn thing, how dare you hit me?" Bolton roared, clenched his fists and fiercely punched at Tang Qing's face. He saw the disdain on Tang Qing's face. In the past, he used to look at others with such an expression. Now he saw it on someone else's face and the target was himself. The pride in his heart and the pride accumulated in his bones after being flattered for a long time were suddenly ignited and burned. Tang Qing tilted his head and dodged the attack of his long fist. When Bolton's body pounced on him, he dodged slightly, and an uppercut hit his ribs under the armpit. Bang! Bolton let out a muffled groan and fell heavily to the ground. When it came to fighting, Tang Qing was a professional. His family's ancestral martial arts were these fist and foot skills. When Jocko and Mason caught up, they happened to see the scene of Bolton falling to the ground. The two's expressions changed greatly, and they quickly ran toward the scene of the fight. Jocko stood in front of Bolton and looked at Tang Qing, who was closest to Bolton, and asked, "What are you doing? Why did you hit him?" Just now, it was Huang Haoran who asked Bolton why he hit him, and now it was Jocko who asked Tang Qing why he hit him. Words only served the fist. This was an irrefutable truth. Tang Qing stood closest, and he took it for granted that Tang Qing was the guy who attacked Bolton. The reason why he said it was an attack was that Jocko did not believe that a fair and tender little boy like Tang Qing would be a match for Bolton in a head-on fight. Tang Qing held his head high and said, "He deserves a beating." "How can you talk like that?" Jocko said angrily. They had been in Wuxia for a long time, and they had never been treated so impolitely. The people of Wuxia that he had come into contact with either felt that the Americans were a level higher than them, or they gave them special treatment in order to show their great nation's demeanor and thousand-year-old etiquette. Suddenly, someone treated them like normal people and he was really not used to it. Bolton was helped up by Mason, but he was still clutching his chest and bowing in pain. He looked at Tang Qing with vicious and fierce eyes, but Tang Qing was not willing to look at him again. Tang Qing had a handsome face, a good family background, a young body, and most importantly, he had a unique and rare skill in this world. He was such a proud boy. How could he care about a few Americans with impure motives? "You ask him," Tang Qing said. Of course Jocko would not ask. He did not need to ask. He knew the ins and outs of the matter better than anyone else. However, how did these guys who looked like students get involved? Did they know something? I will ask my friend, but I want to know the gist of the matter first. Because I saw with my own eyes that you knocked my friend to the ground. That is already illegal. You may be imprisoned. Tang Qing curled his lips and said, will I be imprisoned for self-defense? My teacher is Fang Yen. He is knowledgeable and can recite Tao Te Ching backwards. Don't try to bully me. Fang Yen? Recite Tao Te Ching backwards? What is this? Jacob's head was filled with confusion. If you don't want to explain, Jocko said, then we have to call the police. I think the police will give us a fair and just answer. Of course, if they give an unfair result, I'm afraid we won't just end it like this. Jocko originally wanted to say, let it go. He always felt that this word was very powerful. But after thinking for a long time, he could not pronounce this word. He had to replace it with a simple word. Therefore, he felt that the threat of this sentence was suddenly reduced a lot. Whatever. Tang Qing shrugged his shoulders indifferently. Even if you don't call the police, we will call the police. You haven't explained why you 3 men chased after 2 little girls. Jacko's eyes were cold. He felt that his heart and liver began to hurt. This question was really their Achilles heel. Of course we can explain. Jacko's expression immediately became angry. He pointed to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin not far away and said, those 2 girls? They are liars. They deceived us. Liars? Tang Qing frowned slightly. Could it be that these 2 girls had really done something wrong to others? They took our money and promised to be our models. But they took the money and ran away. This is too much. How can they do this? They are not sincere at all, and they don't keep the spirit of the contract. Jacko's performance was so vivid that it really made people doubt the character of Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. We chased after them to get the money back. They can't take our money. Because they didn't work for us at all. The other party said it so confidently that Tang Qing didn't know how to answer. He turned around and wanted to ask Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin to come over and confront the 3 Americans on the spot to let them know the truth of the matter. Then, his pupils dilated, and his expression became abnormally strange. When the students blocked the gangsters and bullies in front of them, their teacher, Fang Yen, hugged the 2 girls and comforted them softly. The 2 girls fell into his arms, so miserable and weak that I couldn't help but feel sorry for them. How can he do this? Tang Qing roared in his heart. Through the incident of beating up Chiba Haomu and single-handedly challenging the students of Glorious Martial Arts School, the image of Fang Yen that he had just established in his heart collapsed instantly. On second thought, Qin Yitian must be very angry when he saw what Fang Yen did, right? As long as she had a deeper understanding of Fang Yan's character, she would definitely abandon him. In that case, wouldn't my chances increase a lot? As a result, Tang Cheng's heart became joyful again. He looked around for Qin Yitian's figure. Thank God she saw it all. At this moment, there must be a clear and intuitive comparison in her mind between her chivalrous heart and Fang Yan's broad-minded heart, who was carrying a little girl in one arm, right? He silently gave Fang Yen 32 thumbs up in his heart. Mr. Fang, thank you for everything you have done for me. Chapter 115. If Fang Yen knew what Tang Qing was thinking, he would slap him 32 times on the head. He was just yelling at the female students to keep a distance from him and not stand too close to him. In the blink of an eye, 2 little girls threw themselves at him. Do you think he was willing? Have you ever thought about his pain and grievances? Do you know how hard he worked? Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin threw themselves at him and hugged his waist. What could he do? Did he have to push them away forcefully? Moreover, Fang Yen could see that the 2 little girls were really frightened. They didn't come over to take advantage of him on purpose. Who would run hundreds of miles from the city to Xixia Mountain just to take advantage of a man? He was not Lu Dehua, Wu Yanzu, or Gu Tianla. Fang Yen hugged Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, but his eyes were paying attention to the confrontation between Tang Qing and the foreigners. When the 2 little girls calmed down a little, Fang Yen asked, "Is what they said true?" "What?" Jiang Qin looked up at Fang Yen. Because there was a big difference in height between them, she raised her neck too much. Fang Yen looked down and saw Jiang Qin's snow-white neck. They said. Fang Yen let go of Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin's shoulders, pointed at Jocko, Bolton, and Mason and said, "You promised to be models for them, but you took the money and ran away. I don't believe it anyway." Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were really scared just now. Both of them were lovers of calligraphy and painting, and they learned meticulous brushwork from Mr. Li Sanxing at school. Mr. Li Sanxing had always thought that Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were the most talented among the many students. Jiang Qin's comprehension was higher than Yuan Lin's. Jiang Qin was good at painting small scenes, although the scale was not broad enough. But it was novel and touching. Yuan Lin was greedy for novelty, but she didn't have the ability to control the layout of the aura. Therefore he was not as optimistic as Jiang Qin. Mr. Li Sanxing often asked his students to walk out into the crowd and into nature. Copying famous artists, imitating pictures or photos, the scene was there but the feelings were gone. In the end, it couldn't compare to the soul that he personally comprehended outside. It was the season when maple leaves were in full bloom. It was not the first time that Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin had come to Xixia Mountain to sketch. He didn't expect to encounter such a thing on this trip. When they saw Fang Yan, they rushed over as if they had met their savior. She threw herself into Fang Yan's arms and temporarily forgot about the danger outside. They didn't even hear what Jiako and Fang Yan's students said. Now that they heard it from Fang Yan's mouth, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin glared at the same time and jumped out of Fang Yan's arms angrily. Yuan Lin said angrily, "Shameless. How could they say such a thing? When did we ever take their money? Those old hooligans. They did bad things and found such a dignified excuse to push the blame on us. They said they were reporters from National Geographic and wanted Yuan Lin and me to be their models. We didn't take their money at all. They wanted to give us money but we confiscated it. I knew they weren't good people, so I deliberately said I needed to go to the toilet, and then Yuan Lin and I ran away. They chased after us but luckily we met you." After listening to the two girls' explanation, Fang Yan roughly understood what had happened. He smiled and comforted them, saying, "Don't worry, I'm here." After hearing Fang Yan's words and seeing his confident and gentle smile, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin's eyes became a little red. In such a dangerous situation, it was indeed a happy thing to have someone willing to stand up for you and protect you. "Shall we go talk to them?" Fang Yan asked. "Okay," Jiang Qin said. "Let's go confront them. Let's make it clear in person." Fang Yan brought Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin to Jiako and the others and said with a smile, "I heard you speak Wuxia language just now. It seems that there are no obstacles between us." Fang Yan looked at Jiako, who was standing at the front, and said, "I'm a teacher, the teacher of these students standing in front of you. At the same time, on this Xinxia mountain, I'm also their only guardian. All their mistakes and responsibilities will be borne by me. Of course, if they do anything to show their faces, I'll also enjoy some of the glory. Also, the two girls you were chasing are my friends." Fang Yan pointed at Jiang Qin and said, "When I first came to Huaqing, I rented their house." Fang Yan's words were not to explain to Jiako and the others, but to explain to his students. In public, under the gaze of countless students, the two girls had inexplicably thrown themselves into his arms instead of into Tongqing's arms, or into the arms of any other boy. What would they think of their teacher? Only then did everyone understand that these two girls were Mr. Fang's old friends. In this case, it was understandable why they had thrown themselves into Fang Yan's arms. Because they had met someone they knew. In such a critical situation, they would naturally choose to seek comfort from the person they trusted the most. However, the situation I've learned is completely different from what you've said. They said they didn't take your money, and that you were the ones who were plotting against them, so they ran away out of fear. Based on my understanding of them, I believe what they said is the truth. "No, this is slander," Jiako said angrily. "They took our money, 3,000 yuan. They're lying. You're friends, so of course you're biased towards them and make an unfair judgment." "They took your money, what evidence do you have?" Fang Yan asked. "What evidence do we have?" Jiako said. We trusted them wrongly. In the end, they ran away after getting the money. This is too disappointing. Too disappointing. There are too many liars in Huaxia. We didn't take your money." Yuan Lin had a bad temper. She flipped open her pockets to prove her innocence, saying, "We don't have a single cent in our pockets. Who knows if you hid it on the road?" Jiako said with a sneer. "This mountain is so big. If you hid the money, who could find it? You hooligans." Yuan Lin's tears were about to flow out. They were desperately running just now. How could they have the time and mood to hide money on the road? Besides, they didn't take a cent from these people at all. You said you gave them 3,000 yuan, but you can't show any evidence. However, we saw you chasing these two little girls with our own eyes. All of us are witnesses," Fang Yan said with a sharp voice. "Your behavior has violated the law of our country. Didn't you say you want to call the police? If you don't call the police, we'll do it for you. We did chase them, but it was to get our money back. Your students hurt my colleagues and we saw it with our own eyes." Jiako scanned around and said, "If there were cameras, this scene must have been recorded. The cameras are also our evidence." "Your friend pushed me first." Huang Haoran jumped out and said. Tangqing helped to stop Bolton, which indirectly helped Huang Haoran. Now they wanted to pour dirty water on Tangqing. Huang Haoran certainly couldn't let Tangqing suffer. Fang Yin waved his hand and said, "If we are wrong, we are naturally willing to bear the responsibility. We will bear all the responsibility. If you are wrong first, then no matter who you are, you have to bear the same responsibility." Fang Yin looked at Huang Haoran and said, "Haoran, call the police." Huang Haoran nodded and immediately took out his mobile phone to call the police. Jocko and his two companions looked at each other. There was some panic in their eyes. Bolton suddenly covered his chest. "It hurts. It hurts. I'm dying. I'm going to die. I can't. Oh God, help me." Jocko looked worried and said anxiously, "My friend was hurt by you. We have to go to the hospital immediately." With that, he and Mason supported Bolton to escape the scene, regardless of the reaction of Fang Yen and the others. Isn't it too fake? Everyone thought in their hearts. He was fine just now. How could he suddenly be in such pain? Wait. Fang Yen shouted. Jocko didn't look back and threatened, "What do you want to do? I'm warning you, if there's anything wrong with my companion, you will all have to bear the responsibility. Not only your companion has a problem, but all three of you have a problem." Fang Yen said. "We have already called the police. If you insist on leaving, it will be considered as absconding. I am a civilized person. Don't force me to be uncivilized." Jocko didn't even reply. He just wanted to leave this damn place and these annoying guys as soon as possible. This was a bad start for them, and it was really bad luck for them. Fang Yen raised his toes, and a stone on the ground directly attacked Bolton's calf bone as if it had eyes. Gotcha. Bolton let out a blood-curdling scream as his body fell heavily to the ground. Fang Yen raised his toes again, and another stone flew up and hit Jacob's back heavily. Jacob let out a muffled groan and wanted to continue running. He didn't expect that after taking 2 steps, his legs would give way and he fell to the ground. He still had an expensive camera hanging around his neck. As he fell forward, the camera also hit the stone fiercely. With a bang, it fell to the ground and broke into pieces. Seeing that his two companions were attacked one after another, Mason ran faster. Fang Yen searched again and again, but there were no small stones under his feet. Here. At the same time, a stone flew in the direction of Fang Yen. "Thank you." Fang Yen didn't look at it and kicked the stone away. The stone flew toward Mason's body. When Fang Yen felt that the force on his foot was wrong and saw that the stone was the size of a bowl, he couldn't help but be shocked. Who was trying to frame him? If such a big stone were to hit Mason's body, would that blondie still be alive? Fang Yen wailed and ran toward the stone he kicked. "You wait." Chapter 116. Bang. The stone smashed on the back of the mountain guardian stone. There was a crisp sound and sparks flew. Fang Yen looked at Mason, who was pressed under him, and asked, "Are you okay?" Mason shook his head and then nodded. A foul smell came and he was so scared that he peed his pants. Can you imagine that scene? When he turned around to look, a big stone whistled toward his head. There was also a young guy who was chasing him while shouting at him to wait a minute. Could he wait? Waiting was only a dead end. Therefore he ran even harder. As a result, he was pressed to the ground from behind and the stone flew over his head. It was too exciting. Fang Yen smelled the foul smell of urine and got up from his body in disgust. He said, "You're already a big man, do you have to wear a diaper every time you go out?" Mason didn't understand what Fang Yen was saying and he wasn't in the mood to listen. He was scared and his body was lying there like a puddle of mud. Fang Yen knew that he couldn't run anymore, so he didn't put up any guard against him and walked back to the group of students. When the students saw Fang Yen came back, they applauded and cheered. "Mr. Fang, that kick just now was so cool. Mr. Fang, you caught up with the stone that was kicked. You're the Superman in our hearts." Mr. Fang, who chased the stone and shouted, "Wait a minute," was so cute. "Mr. Fang, can you be my male god?" "Qini Tian." Fang Yen shouted. Qini Tian, who was wearing a white sportswear of an unknown brand and white sports shoes, came out from the crowd. He looked at the angry Fang Yen and asked, "Fang Yen, what's the matter?" Fang Yan's face darkened even further. He quickened his steps and stood in front of Qini Tian, whispering, "I've told you to call me Mr. Fang in front of the students. How can you be so rude? You're making me lose face by calling my name, okay?" Qini Tian smiled like a spring flower and looked at Fang Yen without blinking with his bright eyes. He didn't care about his anger at all and said in a low voice that only the two of them could hear, "You said it, but I didn't." "Qini Tian?" Fang Yen suddenly raised his voice. He couldn't always whisper to each other. The students would misunderstand their relationship. There were rumors in Rosefinch Secondary that Qin Etienne was pursuing his teacher. Because the parties involved had never responded, and the relationship between them was too distant. Therefore the rumors were not hot enough. However, Fang Yan would never do something like adding fuel to the fire. "Why did you throw the stone at me?" When the stone flew over, someone shouted, "Here." At that time he didn't listen carefully enough. When Fang Yan solved the stone problem and thought about it carefully, he found that the voice was very similar to Qin Etienne's voice. "I saw you looking for it, so I thought you wanted it," Qin Etienne said. "I was looking, but why did you throw such a big stone?" Fang Yan said angrily. "Do you know how dangerous it is?" "I know," Qin Etienne said. "I also know that you can solve it." Qin Etienne pointed at Mason, who was lying on the ground, and said, "You see, I was right." Qin Etienne. Fang Yan wanted to shout some threatening words to punish Qin Etienne. Fang Yan wanted to shout, "Qin Etienne, I want to deduct your credits. Qin Etienne, I want you to be older than Qin Etienne. Ask your parents to come to the school to find me, Qin Etienne." But all these threats seemed to be no threat to Qin Etienne. What could he do to a student who was sent by the school principal? You really have no idea what to do with such a student? "What do you want to say?" Qin Etienne asked. "Don't do this next time," Fang Yan said. Bolton's leg was injured, Jaco's camera was broken, and Mason was so scared that he wet his pants. The three of them would never think about escaping again. While waiting for the police to come, everyone listened to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin repeat the cause of the incident. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were so beautiful, but Jaco and Mason were so bad. The more beautiful Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were, the more bad Jaco and Mason were. The students of Class 9 were filled with righteous indignation after listening to their story. The girls were busy comforting the two cute and beautiful little Lolas. While the boys were comforting them, they also tried to find out their phone numbers and solemnly promised that the next time they went out to draw, they would be willing to be free bodyguards by their side. If they were thirsty, they would bring water, and if they were sick, they would bring medicine. They also said that they were completely different from Jacob, Mason, and Bolton. They despised perverts the most. Tang Ching, who was standing beside Qin Etienne, pursed his lips and said, "Looks like those two girls are very popular." Qin Etienne looked at him and said indifferently, "They are indeed very cute." While they were talking, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin broke through the encirclement of the boys and walked towards Qin Etienne. Jiang Qin looked at Qin Etienne, who was a head taller than her, and said, "Are you Senior Qin Etienne?" "I am Qin Etienne," Qin Etienne said with a smile. "Is it really you?" Yuan Lin's voice became excited. "Senior Etienne, you are our idol. We already knew you when you were in number 1 middle school. We even went to number 1 middle school to look for you, but we didn't see you." "That's really regretful," Qin Etienne said. She took the initiative to extend her hand to Yuan Lin and said, "It's not too late to get to know each other now, right?" "It's not too late, it's not too late." Yuan Lin quickly shook hands with Qin Etienne. "My name is Yuan Lin." "My name is Jiang Qin," Jiang Qin said as she shook hands with Qin Etienne. Qin Etienne looked at Jiang Qin and said, "What a beautiful girl. When Fang Yan lived in your house, he must have given you a lot of trouble, right?" Jiang Qin looked at Qin Etienne with sharp eyes and didn't know why she would say such a thing. "It's all right. Fang Yan is a very easy person to get along with," Jiang Qin said. "You have to call him teacher," Qin Etienne said. "I know. I have always called him teacher Fang Yan," Jiang Qin explained. "Good girl." Qin Etienne touched Jiang Qin's head. Jiang Qin suddenly felt a little awkward and felt a little wronged. But he didn't understand where this awkwardness and grievance came from. The scenic police finally arrived. They were shocked when they saw the three Americans lying on the ground. The leading fatso policeman shouted and said, "What's going on? How can you hit people? Who hit people?" Fatso was too fat. The peak of Shinsha Mountain was halfway up the mountain. There were no elevators or cars, so they could only climb it by human strength. This was too painful for Fatso. He cursed as he climbed. He had been suppressing his anger for a long time. When he finally reached the destination, he was even more unhappy when he saw the three foreigners lying on the ground. If this kind of thing wasn't handled well, it would become a diplomatic dispute. He hated the perpetrators, who caused him trouble even more. "I hit them," Fang Yan said. "Me too." Tangqing walked to Fang Yan's side and stood side by side with him. At this time he couldn't let Fang Yan be the only one in the limelight. "Me too." "I hit them too." The boys stood out one by one and all chose to stand with Fang Yan and Tangqing. The fatso policeman was furious and said, "You have the right to hit people? Who allowed you to hit people? Don't you know that hitting people is against the law?" So what if you have more people? Believe it or not, I will arrest all of you. Fang Yen looked at the fatso policeman with an unfriendly expression and said, shouldn't you first ask what happened? Of course I will. Go to our station and ask, the fatso policeman said. You are students? Which school are you from? Come all of you, come with me. These students made him unhappy, and he was ready to make these students unhappy. You let me climb half of Tianshan Mountain, and I will let you follow me down the mountain. We just went up the mountain and I have to take my students on a trip. Fang Yen explained. The fatso policeman sneered and said, you want to go on a trip after hitting people? How about a day trip to prison? Seeing this scene, Xiao Lei got out of the crowd and began to make a phone call. Soon the phone was connected. After Xiao Lei said a few words on the phone, he held the phone and walked to the fatso policeman, motioning him to answer the phone. What? The fatso policeman stared at Xiao Lei vigilantly and asked with an unfriendly expression. Captain Xiao Jinya, please answer the phone, Xiao Lei said. Captain Xiao? The fatso policeman was shocked. Although Xiao Jinya was not his direct superior, his rank was much higher than his, and he was a strong contender for the deputy chief of the Tianhe branch. Even the chief of the Xinsha Mountain Police Station had to curry favor with him, so how could he dare to offend him? The fatso policeman quickly took the phone from Xiao Lei and said enthusiastically, Captain Xiao. Be serious, Xiao Jinya said on the phone. With just these 4 words he hung up the phone. The fatso policeman was sweating. He handed the phone to Xiao Lei and asked, who is Captain Xiao to you? *CKU. Fang Yen completely exploded. He pointed at the fatso policeman's face and scolded, why couldn't you just enforce the law from the beginning? Why did your attitude change so much after a phone call? Are you working for the law or for power? We have always been on the side of justice. Why can't you change your attitude only through connections? Fang Yen pointed at Jocko Messon Bolton and the other 2 lying on the ground and said, I thought people like them were annoying, but your behavior is 1,000 times more annoying. You are Huaxia's man and you are a policeman. What kind of people are standing in front of you? They are students, the hope of our country's future. Your behavior did not make them love you but made you look like a scoundrel. You want them to be influenced by you? You want them to become like you? Fang Yen waved his hand and shouted, I don't agree. Chapter 117. Ever since he was a child, the person Fang Yen was most afraid of was his grandfather, Lu Gong. The reason he was afraid was because every word that his grandfather, Lu Gong, said was correct. You couldn't refute it and you had no way to refute it. He was selfless and always stood in the most impartial position to evaluate some things. When it came to some major issues of right and wrong, he would stick to his original heart and never waver. He always stood on the side of justice. If you argued with him and refuted him, then you would stand on the opposite side of justice. Fang Yen was afraid of Lu Gong, but he also respected Lu Gong. In his body flowed the Fang family's hard-working, persistent and competitive blood, but also mixed with the Lu family's erudition, stubbornness and politeness. As for the little bit of despicable factor, it was completely self-taught after growing up. He didn't get anyone's inheritance or guidance. Lu Gong, like his name, was unyielding and couldn't be bothered with even a grain of sand in his eyes. Therefore Lu Gong said that he only had 1.5 friends in his life. Fang Yen was much gentler than Lu Gong. He knew how to make choices and compromise, but on some things he also had his own bottom line and reverse scales that he would not hesitate to protect with his life. In Fang Yan's view, Jocko, Bolton and Mason were really annoying. They were perverts, beasts and scum that everyone despised. They broke the law, and if the motive of the matter was found out, what awaited them would be the punishment of the law. However, the behavior of this police officer, Fatso, was already hateful. His attitude was rude and unreasonable, and he did things according to his authority. Such behavior might not violate the law, but it would only form a common perception in society that it was easy to get things done with money and power. When you encountered a problem, your first reaction was not how to solve the problem, but who to find and how many gifts to give. Where was the hope of this country? High school students were at the critical stage of gradually getting out of their immaturity and gradually coming into contact with society, and slowly moving towards maturity. If they saw this scene, what kind of impact would it have on their hearts? This was also the reason why Fang Yen flew into a rage on the spot and shouted, I don't agree. I don't agree with your blasphemy and dereliction of duty. I don't agree with my students being influenced by you. I don't agree with them eventually becoming like you. When the youth is rich, so is the country. If the youth were strong, the nation would be strong. If the youth is magnanimous, the country will be happy and healthy. What is right and what is wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter whether they are Americans or not, and it doesn't matter who is standing behind us. All you have to do is investigate, ask, and find the truth. Bring the bad guys to justice and let the good guys be innocent. You are a policeman. This is what you should do. Fang Yin pointed at Fatso's face and said bluntly. Lu Tao was scolded harshly. He had never been humiliated like this in all his years as a police officer. He wanted to retort, but he was worried that he would offend Captain Xiao Jinya. Now that Xiao Jinya stood up for them, who knew what kind of powerful people would stand up behind the other students? If he didn't say anything and let this little teacher scold and attack him, he would be too aggrieved and flustered. After all, on this Xinsha mountain he was considered a leader, and he couldn't not raise his head in front of his subordinates. Lu Tao was like an enraged fat wolf. He glared at Fang Yen for a while, then roared in a hoarse voice, Zhang Dekai, you will investigate this assault case. You must be fair and just. After shouting this, he went down the mountain alone without saying goodbye. Zhang Dekai was a young man with glasses. He looked gentle, but he was skinny and had dark skin, like a scholar wrapped in a layer of charcoal. He grinned, revealing 2 rows of snow-white teeth. He walked in front of Fang Yen and said, May I know how to address you, teacher? Fang Yen said, Fang as in Fang Jingjing, and Yen as in the descendants of Yen and Huang. Fang Yan's self-introduction stunned Zhang Dekai. After being stunned for a while, he said, Good name. This name is really mighty and domineering. Teacher Fang Yen taught us a very good lesson today. No matter what Chief Lu thinks, I felt my blood boil when I heard it. Some things, Sai, it's better not to talk about them. However, I can't control others, but I can control myself. In the future, I will definitely be a good police officer and be a good example for the students. Zhang Dekai adjusted his glasses, then straightened his body and saluted Fang Yen. He said, Today we have disappointed Mr. Fang and the students. We are very sorry. Please watch our performance from now on. The 2 colleagues behind Zhang Dekai also raised their hands and saluted at the same time. Their eyes were sincere and their expressions were solemn. After listening to Zhang Dekai's confession and seeing their sincere salutes, Fang Yan's heart surged and he felt very gratified. This was the greatness of the Wuxia people. When the country was in danger, there would be a large number of heroes who would stand up and shed their blood to save the country and the people. When etiquette collapsed, there would also be countless grassroots people who would stand up and selflessly contribute day after day, year after year, to be willing to be an example. The latter might not be able to leave their names in history, but they were the backbone of the country and influenced the culture of the country. They were equally great. Fang Yen patted Zhang Dekai's shoulder hard and said, Thank you. You have also taught my students a very good lesson. I think they will remember today. When they encounter similar things or other things, they will know how to deal with it. Zhang Dekai grinned again and said with a little embarrassment, Who can tell me what is going on? Fang Yen waved to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, indicating that the 2 parties involved would explain the whole process of the incident. The truth of the matter was soon revealed. Jocko, Mason, and Bolton claimed that Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin ran away after receiving their modeling commission of 3,000 yuan, and they chased after them in order to get their money back. However, after investigation, it was found that the 3 of them had not paid any fees to the 2 women. What was more ironic was that, under the leadership of Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, everyone rushed to the scene of the crime, which was the place where Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin had just begun to draw. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin took out their wallets and some accessories from their toolboxes. Jiang Qin's wallet only had a few hundred yuan in it, which was nothing special for students nowadays. Yuan Lin was obviously a rich young woman. The brand name wallet itself was worth a lot, and there were more than 1,000 yuan in cash, 2 bank cards and a brand name watch in it. The value of these things added up to tens of thousands of yuan. Not to mention the value of the LV Classic toolbox that she used to store her paints and drawing paper. They abandoned so many things and ran away for the sake of Jaco's 3,000 yuan? Was there something wrong with their brains? Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were the smart type at first glance, so there was nothing wrong with their brains. Then, if there was nothing wrong with the brains of Jocko Mason Bolton and the other 2, then they were lying. Zhang Dekai and his colleagues put handcuffs on Jocko Mason Bolton and the other 2, and prepared to take them back to the station for further interrogation. Mr. Fang, the truth has been revealed. I promise that this time, we will not let our students be wronged. Zhang Dekai stood in front of Fang Yen and said with a serious face, Thank you for your hard work. Fang Yen said, This is what we should do. Zhang Dekai said with a smile. Mr. Fang just said that this is our duty, isn't it? Ah, yes. Fang Yan also laughed. You are polite to us, so we will be polite to you. You treat us like air, so we will certainly not speak kindly to you. Isn't this reasonable? Yes, it is reasonable, Zhang Dekai said with a laugh. The bad guys were taken away and the good guys naturally had to continue their trip. Because of the impact of this matter, everyone's trip was delayed. They had to climb to the top of the mountain before dark and rest in the hotel at the top of the mountain at night. Early the next morning, everyone went to watch the sunrise. Fang Yan let Tangqing and Huang Haoren lead the team and continued to lead the 9th class to climb to the top of the mountain. He said a few words to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, and then went to catch up with the rest of the team. The boys were reluctant to part with Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, and some of them were bold enough to invite them to go to the top of the mountain to watch the sunrise. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin smiled without saying anything, and did not make it clear whether they would go or not. When the crowd dispersed, only Fang Yan, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were left in the dense forest. Fang Yan looked at the two girls and said with a smile, "Pack up and go back down the mountain quickly. Your family will be worried if you go back late." Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin looked at each other and did not answer Fang Yan's question. Fang Yan squatted down to help the two girls clean up the easel and brush that had been kicked away by Mason. On the grass in the distance, he found several pieces of drawing paper that had fallen here. He picked up the drawing paper and found a familiar figure on it. He took the drawing paper and glanced at Jiang Qin, and Jiang Qin also happened to look at him. Seeing the drawing paper in Fang Yan's hand, Jiang Qin reacted. "Ah!" she cried out in surprise and quickly ran towards Fang Yanfei. Crash! Jiang Qin snatched the drawing paper from Fang Yan's hand and said angrily, How can you casually look through other people's things?" "I have never seen such an ugly Lu Dehua," Fang Yan said with a smile. "You drew our idol Lu Dehua like this. Have you ever thought about the feelings of us fans?" "Who said this is Lu Dehua?" Jiang Qin pouted and said. "What I drew was an ugly monster." "What ugly monster?" Yuan Lin's puzzled eyes looked at Jiang Qin and Fang Yan and said, "Let me see how ugly it is." "No." Jiang Qin refused and wanted to put the drawing paper in his hand into the box. "If you don't want to give it, then don't give it." "Who wants it?" Crash! Yuan Lin said that she didn't want it, but when Jiang Qin was unprepared, she snatched the drawing paper. Chapter 118. Against the backdrop of the red maple leaves, a young man in a white shirt stood among the trees. A gentle breeze ruffled his soft black hair. The sun was shining brightly, and his handsome cheeks were gilded with a layer of almost transparent golden color. He held his head high, and a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. His whole body was filled with a kind of comfortable pride and complacency. When Yuan Lin saw the figure in the picture, she suddenly became happy. She giggled and said, "Sweetheart, who is this ugly monster?" Jiang Qin got up and chased Yuan Lin, shouting angrily, "Yuan Lin, you bad guy, give the painting back to me, give it back to me." Yuan Lin grabbed the drawing paper and circled around the maple trees and Jiang Qin. She refused to return the drawing in her hand and said, "No, I won't. I won't give it back. If you don't tell me who this ugly monster is, I won't give it to you." "Give it to me? No. Will you give it to me or not?" "No." "Yuan Lin." Jiang Qin stopped. Her cheeks were red and she looked at Yuan Lin with tears in her eyes. A pitiful look of indignation and humiliation. Young girls' feelings were always poems. The vague love for a boy was their most private and sensitive taboo. They were ashamed to admit it and annoyed to see others. Yuan Lin's behavior undoubtedly exposed her feelings in front of the person involved, which made her ashamed and angry, and her tears flowed out uncontrollably. Seeing Jiang Qin crying, Yuan Lin hurried over. She stuffed the painting paper into Jiang Qin's hand, held Jiang Qin's shoulder and said with heartache, "Sweetheart, don't cry, I'm joking with you. It's my fault, it's all my fault. I won't ask, okay? I won't ask any more." Jiang Qin wiped his tears with the back of his hand and cried even more sadly. "I didn't even cry when you made my idol Lu Dehua look so ugly. Why are you crying?" Fang Yan said helplessly. "You're so annoying." Jiang Qin stomped his feet angrily. "I told you it's not Lu Dehua. Nongpa? I thought this person looked a bit like Nongpa, so you guys..." Fang Yan pretended not to see the characters on the paper and deliberately led them in the wrong direction. "Who said it was a farmstead? Why would I draw him?" Jiang Qin was even angrier. She was so angry that she forgot to continue crying. "I can draw whoever I want. What does that have to do with you? Yes, yes. It has nothing to do with me. Fang Yen raised his hands in surrender. He knew that this was not the time to provoke this girl. Hurry up and pack up, I'll send you down the mountain. I'm not going back today, Jiang Qin said. What? Fang Yen widened his eyes and looked at Jiang Qin. Even Yuan Lin looked at her companion in surprise. Didn't this girl discuss with her before making a decision? I said we're not going back tonight, Jiang Qin said. She turned to look at Yuan Lin and said, haven't you always wanted to see the sunrise at Xixia Mountain? We're not going back tonight. We'll wake up early tomorrow to see the sunrise. We can even bring a drawing board and draw it. Didn't the teacher say that? Only by experiencing it yourself can you draw that kind of breathtaking scenery. This is a good opportunity. What do you mean a good opportunity? Yuan Lin laughed in her heart. Before Fang Yen came, why didn't I hear that you wanted to stay at the top of the mountain to see the sunrise? Why didn't I hear that this was a good opportunity? But we agreed to go home tonight, Yuan Lin said worriedly. Won't your mom be worried if we don't go back? My mom must be worried to death. Idiot. Can't we just call back and tell them? Jiang Qin said. Just tell them that we're going to paint the sunrise and won't go back tonight. No. Yuan Lin shook her head. My mom will definitely not agree, and neither will your mom. We're girls. Jiang Qin looked at Fang Yen and wanted to say something but stopped. Fang Yen pretended not to understand the pleading look in Jiang Qin's eyes and said, Yuan Lin is right. If you two girls don't go back tonight, your family will be worried. If you really want to see the sunrise and paint it, then go back and discuss with your parents. Come back when they agree or let them accompany you. Isn't that better? Better my ass. Jiang Qin curled her lips and said. Who would want to travel with their parents? Yuan Lin also nodded vigorously and said, that's right. Don't do this and don't do that. It's so annoying. Fang Yen was very hurt. He ignored the rebellious mentality of children at this age. Jiang Qin seemed to have made up his mind. He looked at Yuan Lin and said, you call your mom and I'll call my mom. We'll tell them that we're with a lot of classmates and nothing will happen. We'll also stay on the top of the mountain tonight and get up early tomorrow morning to watch the sunrise. After watching the sunrise, we'll go back. What can happen? Yuan Lin was also persuaded by Jiang Qin and said, okay, then shall we call now? Yes. Jiang Qin nodded. If my mom doesn't believe it, you can testify for me. If your mom doesn't believe it, I'll also testify for you. Happy cooperation. The two girls clapped their hands together happily. Fang Yen was speechless. From their conversation, it could be heard that they must have done many things like helping each other hide and deceive. Seeing that Jiang Qin was about to take out his phone to make the call, Fang Yen stopped him and said, are you really going to stay? Of course, Jiang Qin said. For art, Yuan Lin said. Then I'll make the call for you, Fang Yen said. You'll make the call for us? Jiang Qin looked at Fang Yen uncertainly. If her mom knew that Fang Yen was also at Xixia Mountain, wouldn't she be more determined to call them back? Yes, I'll make the call for you. Fang Yen nodded. It's not a bad thing. Why must you lie to them? If they don't know the truth about you, they'll be worried and scared the whole night. It's not easy being a parent. Why should we let them worry about us? But, what if my mom doesn't agree? Jiang Qin said worriedly. I'll explain to her. She'll agree, Fang Yen said. What if she doesn't agree, I'll send you down the mountain and you can take a car back, Fang Yen said. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin discussed for a while and finally decided to compromise. Jiang Qin dialed his mother's number with his phone and said, Mom, Fang Yen wants to talk to you. Fang Yen took the phone from Jiang Qin and said with a smile, Sister Li, I'm Fang Yen. I haven't seen you for a long time. I really miss your cooking. Fang Yen. Sister Li's voice paused for a moment. If you miss me, come over for dinner when you have time. You're with Xiangqin? What's up? Sister Li, it's like this. Fang Yen explained with a smile. I brought my students to Xixia Mountain for a trip and happened to meet the two girls, Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, who came to the mountain to paint. They heard that my students and I were going to spend the night at the hotel on the mountain and watch the sunrise tomorrow morning, so they wanted to come with us. I said I'll call you and ask for your permission. If you agree, I'll promise them to stay. If you don't agree, I'll send them down the mountain and let them take a car home. Sister Li thought for a while and said with a hearty smile, if they want to watch the sunrise, then let them stay. If it's only the two of them, I won't feel at ease. But with Mr. Fang, I believe you can take good care of them. I'll take good care of them, Fang Yen promised. Fang Yen, thank you, Sister Li said gratefully. It's nothing. Anyway, there are other students to take care of. Jiang Qin is also my student. Yes, Sister Li answered. Fang Yan, I'm sorry. You didn't do me wrong. Fang Yan smiled. You just love your daughter too much. Yes, Sister Li said. As a mother, how can I not love my child? After hanging up, Fang Yan looked at Jiang Qin, who was looking at him with a worried face, and said, Your mother agreed. Really? Jiang Qin had an incredulous look on his face as he asked, You really agreed? You really agreed? Why did she agree? Jiang Qin asked in confusion. Because I believe in her and she believes in me, Fang Yan said with a smile. Jiang Qin shook his head and said, I don't understand. She really didn't understand. If her mother believed in Fang Yan, why would she chase Fang Yan out of the house? It's my turn. It's my turn, Yuan Lin said. She dialed her mother's number, said a few words, and handed the phone to Fang Yan. Fang Yan took the phone, and before he could speak, a pleasant woman's voice came from the phone. Is this teacher Fang Yan? I know you. Yuan Lin said she wants to watch the sunrise at Xixia Mountain, so please help take care of her. I will, Fang Yan promised. Thank you. I'll treat you to a meal when I have the chance, the woman said warmly. You're too polite, Fang Yan said with a smile. After hanging up, Fang Yan began to doubt the authenticity of all this. Could Yuan Lin have deliberately dialed a number and asked someone to pretend to be her mother to talk to him? However, from the woman's voice, she didn't sound like a liar at all. Because a liar didn't have that kind of gentle and calm temperament. Since Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin's families had agreed, Fang Yan didn't object to them spending the night at Xixia Mountain. Fang Yan walked in front with 2 toolboxes, leading the way, while Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin walked behind with their drawing boards on their backs. Not far behind the 3 of them, a couple wearing sun hats followed them at a moderate pace. They were leisurely taking photos, but from time to time they would look at the 3 of them. Chapter 119. The moon was round and full, and the stars dotted the sky. The sky was high, but it seemed to be close at hand. As long as one stretched out his hand, he could pluck the brightest star and send it to his lover. Jiang Qin stretched out his small hand, wanting to pluck a star, but his hand was empty. There was still a long distance between ideal and reality. Jiang Qin smiled bitterly. Yuan Lin looked at her profile and said, Sweetheart, are you unhappy? We all stayed. We live on the top of Xixia Mountain. We live in the same hotel as Fang Yan. We can see the night view of Xixia Mountain from the balcony, and we can get up early tomorrow to watch the sunrise with them. Sweetheart, why are you still unhappy? I'm not unhappy, just a little disappointed, Jiang Qin said. Why? Yuan Lin asked. I thought that I would be a little different from him. In fact, in his eyes I am the same as you. We are both students. In other words, we are both children, Jiang Qin said. I am quite happy that he is willing to help me call my mom. But after thinking about it carefully, I am very sad. The reason why he called my mom so calmly is that he has no selfish motives. He feels that he has no intimate relationship with me at all. He believes in himself and my mom believes in him. They trust each other and my feelings don't matter. Is that so? Yuan Lin thought seriously. It was exactly the same as what Jiang Qin thought. She smiled and said, Sweetheart, don't you think you are thinking too much? We are just students. Who knows what will happen in the future? Yes, you are thinking too much. Jiang Qin sighed. I cannot think about it. Why can't I think about it? Because uncle is very popular, Jiang Qin said with some annoyance. Exactly. I want to compete with you, Yuan Lin said with a giggle. Don't you dare, Jiang Qin said threateningly. Then the 2 girls laughed together. The hotel was built on the edge of the cliff. Standing on the balcony gave people a feeling that their bodies were suspended in the air. He could enjoy the cool breeze of the mountain stream and the bright moon above his head. The beautiful scenery on a good day did not disappoint the reputation of the Canvas Moon Hotel. Boys and girls lived separately, 2 to a room. Since 1 student was absent, there were exactly 20 rooms for the 40 students. Fang Yan booked another room for Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. The 2 girls were quite stubborn and insisted on paying for their own rooms. Fang Yan knew that Yuan Lin was a rich woman, so he didn't argue too much with them. Fang Yan lived alone in a room which was quite comfortable. After taking a shower, he sat on the balcony and made himself a cup of Longjing tea. Enjoying the breeze and admiring the scenery, it was a happy and harmonious life. Dong dong, there was a knock on the door. Fang Yan lived in room 309. During the meal he specifically told all the students his room number, so that if they encountered any problems, they must go to room 309 to discuss it with him. They must not act on their own. They were outside and they lived on the mountain. As the only teacher leading the team, Fang Yen had a great responsibility. If something happened to the students, he would have to bear the consequences as a teacher. Fang Yen walked over to open the door, and his heart suddenly trembled. Qini Tian stood at the door with a smile. Maybe because she had just taken a shower, she had changed into a set of snow-white casual sportswear. Because the conditions of the hotel were simple, there was no hair dryer for every customer, so her hair was still a little moist, but it was still soft and draped over her shoulders. Fang Yen blocked the door and asked, "Classmate Qini Tian, what's the matter?" Looking at Fang Yan's actions, Qini Tian frowned slightly and said, "Fang Yen, you don't want to let me in?" "It's not that I don't want to. I'm too tired today and I'm going to rest. If there's nothing else, go back and rest early. I still have to get up early tomorrow morning to watch the sunrise." "You still don't want to let me in?" Qini Tian chuckled. "Fang Yen, what are you afraid of?" "What?" Fang Yen was like a rabbit whose tail had been stepped on. He said angrily, "What am I afraid of? What do I have to be afraid of?" "Then why won't you let me in? I'm a student and you're my teacher. I came to talk to you about something very important, but you're blocking the door in fear. Fang Yen, are you feeling guilty?" Fang Yen could only move aside and said, "What do you want to talk to me about?" Qini Tian walked past Fang Yen and went straight to the rattan chair on the balcony to sit down. Looking at the steaming Longjing tea, he said, "It seems that you don't plan to sleep so early." "I'll sleep after drinking this cup of tea," Fang Yen said with an awkward smile. "I'm used to drinking a cup of green tea before going to bed." "What a coincidence. I also have such a habit," Qini Tian said. Thus, Fang Yen had to make another cup of Longjing tea and send it to Qini Tian. Qini Tian's body softly lay down on the rattan chair, his eyes admiring the undulating mountains in the distance. He did not make a sound for a long time. "Classmate Qini Tian, shu." Qini Tian made a shushing gesture. Fang Yen was hurt. "You liar, didn't you say you wanted to talk to me about something very important? Now you don't even let me speak." Fang Yen sat across from Qini Tian. Just like her, his body was lying down in the most comfortable position. He looked at the distant moon and black mountains, emptied his mind and instantly fell into a trance. He had to admit that this feeling was quite great. Some people enjoyed the tranquility, while others were extremely restless. Zheng Guodong was in the room squeezing a new pimple on his face when his underlings Qin Tao and Li Yang pushed open the door and walked in. "Zheng, you called us over for a program?" Li Yang asked with a smile. Zheng Guodong wiped the blood on his face with a tissue and said, "Go out for a walk. Who can sleep so early?" "Didn't Fang Yen tell everyone not to go out at night?" Qin Tao said. "Fang Yen?" Zheng Guodong sneered. "What the hell is he? What does he say? Why do we have to listen to him?" "But, it's so late. There's nothing fun on the mountain, right?" Qin Tao said. "How do you know there's nothing fun if you haven't gone out yet?" Zheng Guodong said. "Didn't we hear about it during dinner? There's a tiger leaping gorge nearby. When the moon is bright at night we might be able to see the tiger leaping gorge. The three of us are rich people so we might be able to see it. But the waiter also said that the tiger leaping gorge is a dangerous place, and it's easy to encounter danger." Zheng Guodong was angry. He kicked Qin Tao's knee and scolded, "Qin Tao, are you scared of that little bastard Fang Yen? If you don't dare to go, Li Yang and I will go. You stay here and flatter Fang Yen. Let's see if he will give you a certificate of merit at the end of the year." Qin Tao quickly apologized and said with a smile, "Zheng, I didn't mean that. Li Yang and I aren't afraid of anything. We're just worried about Zheng's safety." "I'm safe," Zheng Guodong said angrily. "Cut the crap. If you want to go, then come with us. If you don't, then get lost. Don't make me sick of you. Go. Whoever doesn't go is a coward." Qin Tao patted his chest and said. The three of them had a serious discussion. Then they sneaked out of the room with their flashlights and other night equipment. What Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Qin Tao didn't notice was that when they walked out of the Moonview Hotel, a couple also walked out of the Hundred Flowers Valley Hotel next door and followed them from a distance. The bustling scene during the day became quiet and mysterious at night. There were some places with dense foliage that looked dark and it made people feel a little scared. Li Yang and Qin Tao looked at each other and felt scared. Li Yang said, "Zheng, this road is too dark. I'm afraid we'll get lost." "Yeah. Why don't we come back tomorrow?" Qin Tao added. Zheng Guodong was also scared, but he was the one who suggested going to Tiger Leaping Gorge. He braced himself and said, "We're already here. We have to go and see. Are you scared? If you're scared you can go back first." Li Yang and Qin Tao hurriedly said that they weren't scared. How could they be scared? They had been to a graveyard before. At that moment, a pheasant jumped out of the grass. The three of them screamed and turned to run. As soon as they turned around they screamed even louder. Because, behind them, there were two black shadows that had followed them out of nowhere. The two black shadows just stood there quietly. They didn't speak or make any sound. They were like lonely ghosts or bloodthirsty ghosts from the depths of the forest. Plop. The three of them suddenly turned around and stopped. Qin Tao couldn't react in time, so he staggered and fell forward. He accidentally slipped and fell at the feet of the two black-clothed figures. After letting out another scream of fright, his hands and feet moved together as he desperately retreated backwards. "Let's go." The black shadow pointed forward and said emotionlessly. "Go where?" Zheng Guodong asked with a trembling voice. This time he was really scared and couldn't pretend anymore. "Tiger Leaping Gorge," the black shadow said. "We're not going." "We don't want to go anymore," Li Yang said anxiously. "We're going back." "I'm afraid it's not up to you now," the black shadow said with a sneer. "If we don't want to go then we don't want to go. Why must we listen to you?" Zheng Guodong shouted to boost his courage. Besides, he also hoped that someone would hear his voice and come to save him. The black shadow jumped high and kicked Zheng Guodong in the chest. Zheng Guodong let out a groan. His body flew into the air and fell toward the cliff beside the mountain path. Qin Tao and Li Yang were scared out of their wits. They didn't care about Zheng Guodong's life anymore. The two of them ran toward the depths of the forest. The two black shadows moved at the same time and rushed in front of them in an instant. Li Yang and Qin Tao followed Zheng Guodong's trajectory and rolled away. They were truly brothers in trouble. Chapter 120. The autumn wind caressed his face and he closed his eyes to sleep. Of course, Fang Yen didn't dare to really fall asleep. There was a charming little beauty sitting next to him. This girl was so scary that he had to be vigilant against her at all times. If she did something inappropriate while he was asleep, or cooked the rice into cooked rice, it would be too late for him to cry. Who could he reason with at that time? Knock, knock, knock. At this moment someone knocked on the door of Fang Yan's room hurriedly. Fang Yan and Qin Yitian suddenly woke up from their drowsy state. They looked at each other and Qin Yitian said, "It's said in the book that when you are with the person you like, even if you don't do anything you will still be happy." It turns out that it's true. Ignoring Fang Yan's speechlessness, Qin Yitian stretched her arms and looked at the cold Longjing tea on the table. "Thank you for the tea. I'm really going to bed now." Fang Yan was speechless when he heard Qin Yitian's words. With that, he stood up and prepared to go back to his room to rest. Huang Haoren stood at the door of Fang Yan's room. When he saw that the person who opened the door for him was the Rosefinch campus belle, Qin Yitian, his pupils swelled and his mouth opened, forgetting what to say. "Go in." Qin Yitian took the initiative to greet Huang Haoren, and then walked towards his room with a yawn. Fang Yan's throat was dry. He finished the tea in front of him in one breath. He looked at Huang Haoren, who was still standing at the door in a daze, and asked, "Haoren, what's the matter?" Huang Haoren came to his senses and said hurriedly, "Mr. Fang, I just went to check the room and found that Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Qin Tao are missing." "Missing?" Fang Yen frowned. "Only these three guys?" "Yes. It was just the three of them. I thought only Qin Yitian, the others were in the room." Huang Haoren was furious when he mentioned Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Qin Tao. During the class dinner tonight, Teacher Fang Yen repeatedly reminded them that the road was slippery at night, so they shouldn't go out casually to avoid any unexpected dangers. "Have a good rest tonight. Tomorrow morning, everyone will gather together to watch the sunrise on first-line television." Fang Yen was worried that everyone would not abide by the rules, so he specially instructed Huang Haoren to patrol at night. If someone breaks the rules, he or she will be punished by deducting credits. Everyone else followed the rules seriously, but the three of them ignored Teacher Fang Yan's words, ignored the class rules and sneaked out. "Have you called them?" Fang Yen asked. Before leaving for the trip, for everyone's convenience, Fang Yen asked someone to register all the students' mobile numbers in advance. This was so that they could reconnect if they accidentally got separated. "I did." Huang Haoren's expression became even more furious. They didn't answer on purpose. Didn't answer? Fang Yen couldn't sit still. Did they say where they were going? "I don't know." Huang Haoren shook his head. "If they did, they wouldn't tell me." Fang Yan agreed. Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Qin Tao formed an independent small circle, and their relationship with the other students in the class was not very harmonious. Before he came, there were some boys who were willing to hang out with them, thinking that it was very cool to be around them. After he came, those boys suddenly realized that Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Qin Tao were actually quite selfish and childish, and began to slowly alienate them. Especially after Fang Yan became more and more famous in the school and became more and more popular, there were now no students in the entire Rosefinch Secondary who were willing to interact with them. Now, in the class and the school, they really didn't like each other and were hated by everyone who saw them. It was because of the resentment that they hadn't vented that they insisted on not changing classes. Fang Yan thought for a few seconds and said, "Haoran, you stay in the hotel and look after everyone. Don't let anyone else go out. I'll go out and look for them." No matter how Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Qin Tao's characters were, they were still students of Rosefinch Secondary, and they were students in his class. No matter how Fang Yan thought of them, he had the responsibility and obligation to ensure their safety when they went out. "Mr. Fang, should we mobilize everyone to look for them together? The more people there are, the easier it is to find them," Huang Haoran reminded. "Please don't," Fang Yan said. "We're on the mountain, not in the city. There are landslides and cliffs everywhere on the mountain. It's easy to see the road during the day, so there's no need to worry about any danger. But it's dark at night, so it's easy to get into trouble. I can't let everyone take the risk with me." "But you're alone? Have you forgotten?" Fang Yan patted Huang Haoran's shoulder and comforted him. "I'm a peerless master." Fang Yan ran to the front desk of the hotel and asked the receptionist if she had seen the three boys go out. The receptionist nodded and said that she had seen them. She had also heard them talking about going to Tiger Leaping Gorge. She wanted to remind them, but a phone call came in and delayed her for a moment. Then they disappeared. Tiger Leaping Gorge? Fang Yan's expression changed. He knew about Tiger Leaping Gorge. It was a big rock between two adjacent peaks that stood opposite each other. Legend had it that during a full moon, it was possible to see a tiger jumping from one side of the cliff to the other rock. Of course, only those who were fated to see it would be able to see it. Those who weren't fated to see it wouldn't be able to see it. However, Tiger Leaping Gorge was a long distance away and the mountain was steep. So where did they go? "How long have they been gone?" Fang Yan asked. The receptionist looked back at the clock on the wall and said, "Almost an hour." "Thank you." Fang Yan thanked her and quickly ran outside. Zhangxia Mountain had just been developed, so many facilities were not perfect yet. Apart from the main facilities that had street lights, some of the auxiliary mountain paths had no street lights. Therefore, the lush greenery during the day turned into a ghastly place at night. Fang Yan had to slow down in places where the moonlight couldn't reach. Although he had bragged to Huang Haoran that he was a peerless master, he didn't know Qinggong. Fang Yan looked around as he ran, trying to find Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Qin Tao. If nothing had happened to the three of them, he should have been able to spot them immediately. Fang Yan didn't find any traces of Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Qin Tao all the way to Tiger Leaping Gorge. Could it be that they didn't come to Tiger Leaping Gorge? If they didn't come here, where did they go? Fang Yan was burning with anxiety. Where the hell did these three little bastards run off to? Fang Yan took out his phone and called Zheng Guodong again, but the call still couldn't be connected. Damn it! Fang Yan cursed angrily. At that moment, Fang Yan suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. His muscles tensed up and his hair stood on end. Danger. Fang Yan's legs separated in a straight line, and he did a 180-degree split, instantly shortening his body by more than half. Whoosh! A cold light flashed over his head, almost cutting off half of his head. Fang Yan thought to himself, he's trying to take someone's life. He used one hand to support himself, and his body leaped high into the air. His long legs fiercely kicked toward the flashing silver light. Eagle body bow kick. Black Shadow didn't expect Fang Yan's reaction to be so fast, and his counterattack to be so fierce. He had just swung his saber and he had already made a series of dodging and counterattacking moves. It was simply dazzling. He was already surprised that his first slash missed. He knew that this teacher knew some martial arts. He had injured Wu Ren's student and defeated the coach of Glory Martial Arts School, but they were assassins. Professional assassins. How could killing and performing be on the same level? Seeing his target kick toward his chest, Black Shadow swung his saber diagonally, preparing to cut off a section of his ankle or cut off a piece of flesh from his calf. Fang Yan's straightened leg suddenly bent and retracted it at a 90-degree angle. After he avoided the diagonal slash, His long legs stretched out 180 degrees and suddenly bounced. Bang! Black Shadow grunted. His chest was hit, and his body retreated in a sorry state. Straight kick, ba kick, and straight kick. Because Fang Yan's speed was too fast, and he calculated every possible counterattack move of his opponent. With one hit, the Black Shadow had almost no power to counterattack. Crack. Only then did Fang Yan's body land on the ground. His ability to stay in the air was amazing. Black Shadow's body finally stood firm. Moreover, there was a slightly thinner Black Shadow beside the Black Shadow. It turned out that they weren't alone but in a team of two. "Who are you?" Fang Yan shouted coldly. He was already sure that this was a trap specially designed for him. Who was it that hated him so much that he wanted to take his life? Jing Guodong, Li Yang and Qin Tao? Could it be that they hired assassins to deal with him? It couldn't be. How could they be so stupid and crazy? What if it wasn't them? What kind of role did they play in the middle? It was a mess of thousands of things. "Monster," the taller figure said coldly. "Playing tricks?" Fang Yan said sarcastically. "I respect the heavens and the gods. I've never paid any attention to the likes of little demons and monsters. Trash like you can only hide in the dark and ambush people when they aren't paying attention. You die as soon as you see the light. What can you do?" Thus, the two Black Shadows in the dark became unusually angry. They were practically furious. The way they looked at Fang Yan was as if they wanted to burn him to ashes. "We, the monster group, have never been humiliated like this," the shorter figure said. Because the black hood covered their faces, Fang Yan couldn't see their real faces. It wasn't until she spoke that Fang Yan realized she was a woman. "Today I'll let you have a taste of my little goblin methods," the taller man said angrily. "To die in the hands of us monsters, consider it a blessing from your previous life," the taller man said angrily. "Next year today will be your death anniversary," the taller man said. Are they really monsters? Fang Yan was shocked. Chapter 121. 10 Steps to Kill a Man, 1,000 Miles Unstoppable. When the matter was done, he brushed his clothes and left, hiding his identity and name. Li Bai's poem, The Way of the Gallant, was originally written about those hermit swordsmen who were chivalrous and liked to fight for the sake of the people. Later, the assassin organization felt that these words were too cool and domineering. Moreover, the phrase brushing one's robe and hiding one's body and name when one is done was clearly used to describe the profession they were engaged in. Therefore, the assassins, dressed in a special black professional suit, deliberately chose to recite a few lines of Tang or Song poems before they went out to kill on a dark and windy night. It did give people a feeling that the overall quality of the assassin industry had improved a lot. Later on, with the development of internet technology and genetic technology, only a strand of hair or a single cell was needed to search through the global database. This included the number of times you peed on your bed when you were a child, and whether you peeked at your neighbor's little sister while she was bathing. At this time, when things are done, I will brush my clothes and go into hiding, had become empty words, a beautiful wish. In the information age, most assassins had a record. Only an extremely small number of top-notch or extremely secretive experts would not have their information known by the outside world. Even the most powerful spies and intelligence organizations in the United States found it difficult to peek at their true colors. The monsters were a famous assassin group in the world of assassins. The girl was called Little Goblin and the boy was called Old Monster. The two of them were lovers. Whether it was killing one person or a group of people, the two of them would appear at the same time. Meng would never leave Jiao, Jiao would never leave Meng, and they would never separate. Therefore, when they were hired, it was equivalent to hiring two top-notch assassins at the same time. Moreover, the two of them had been working together for many years and had a tacit understanding of each other. They would often come up with strange moves. Even if they encountered opponents who were stronger than them, they could still turn defeat into victory. There were almost no defeats. This was the first time Fang Yan had come into contact with them, and it was also the first time he had heard of the famous monsters. However, if an expert didn't make a move, one would know whether or not he was an expert. The two of them stood in tacit agreement, with the woman in front and the man behind. The petite woman stood on the left side of the tall man. She was able to maintain the advantage of being the first to attack, but not block the smooth acceleration of the man behind her. If that was all, it would be hard for Fang Yan to pay attention to him. Their positions actually coincided with the Taiji's wind power, acupoint. Only when the wind blows can the water rise. Wind brings forth water, Tai Chi, I am the Tai Chi. Could he be a Taiji disciple? Fang Yan thought to himself. Kill? The old monster shouted. Although he was standing in the back row, he held the important position of the group's spokesperson. If he said kill, they would kill. If he said run, they would run. Of course, the former was more common, and the latter had yet to appear. Are you going to make a move now? Fang Yin waved his hand to stop them. That's not what they show on TV. The monster duo looked at each other. The little goblin asked in a sharp voice, do you have any last words? Say it all at once. Although I can't promise that I'll help you get the message out. In the movies and TV shows, before killing someone, the bad guys will sneer 3 times and say, I want you to die knowing. Then he explained clearly why he wanted to kill and who sent him to kill. He explained everything clearly. I'm going to die soon. You can't let me die unjustly, right? Tell me, why do you want to kill me? Who sent you to kill me? Fang Yin felt that it was a waste to die like this. He couldn't be a muddle-headed ghost. He had to be a clear-headed ghost. The little goblin and the old monster felt like vomiting blood. You're going to die soon. Who has the patience to talk nonsense with you? Do you think this is a movie? The opportunity to kill was fleeting. For them, a dead person was the safest. Only a dead person could keep his mouth shut. You don't say it because you don't dare to. Fang Yin sneered. What? You're not confident that you can kill me today? You're worried that I'll leave here alive to take revenge on the mastermind? That's right. That's my plan. Next time, don't say things like, this day next year will be your death anniversary. I've read so many novels. Anyone who said that was killed by the person they wanted to kill. The old monster was furious. He roared, Fang Yin, you dare to bully me? Kill. Before the word kill left his mouth, the little goblin had already rushed out. This was tacit understanding. People often used the inelegant phrase, I know you're going to shit before you even lift your butt, to describe the tacit understanding between two people. For the little goblin and the old monster, they could indeed achieve this kind of close cooperation. The little goblin was short and her body was wrapped in a black suit. If it wasn't for the bright moon in the sky, it was almost impossible to catch her movement. Even with the moonlight and starlight, it was still not daytime. She was good at taking advantage of the blind spots of the eyes. Her eyes could not catch up with the speed of her movements. Her figure flashed twice and she had already rushed to the side of Fang Yin. Only then did she reveal the thin blade hidden on the back of her wrist. The cold and sharp blade went straight for Fang Yan's neck. Whoosh, almost silently, the blade cut at a tricky angle towards the main artery of Fang Yan's neck, which was particularly eye-catching in the eyes of the little goblin. At the same time, the old monster also moved. His toes touched the ground and his body had already jumped high with the help of the rebound force. He threw a punch straight at Fang Yan's face with the force of thunder. One attacked from the front, the other attacked from the side. One was soft and strange, the other heavy and invincible. 2 kinds of strength and 2 styles attacked at the same time. If one was a little careless, one would be seriously injured or even both would die under the heavy punches and sharp blades. Mandarin ducks playing in the water. This was the name given by the old monster and the little goblin to their first coordinated attack. This was the appetizer of their fight with others, a set of soft and sweet killing moves that could easily reap lives. Wolves in front and tigers behind, taking a walk in the mountains. Fang Yin naturally spread his feet. The tip of his left foot quickly drew a circle in front of his body. His body was relaxed like a sauna, his hands in front and back, his posture was weird like a drunkard. The blade arrived first. Fang Yan's wrist turned, and his soft arms stuck to the little goblin's wrist. The little goblin used strength and Fang Yan used strength. The little goblin used strength again and Fang Yan used strength again. The more strength the little goblin used, the more she found that the blade was not under her control. Whoosh! Blood splattered. However, it was not Fang Yan's body that was hurt. Although the blade was still pinched between the little goblin's hands, Fang Yan had controlled her hands. Her blade made a long cut on her cheek, which was wrapped in black cloth. The black cloth split and dark red blood flowed out crazily. The little goblin covered the wound on her cheek, and took 3 steps back as if she had seen a ghost. Strong control. Her opponent had actually clearly guessed the development of each of her moves, and had defeated her with techniques that were even more exquisite than hers. Who was he? The wind from the fist arrived. Fang Yan straightened her wrist, and her palm pushed out with an all-encompassing force. Boom. Fang Yan's palm blocked the old monster's fist. One was as hard as iron, and the other was as soft as cotton. One was as iron in fire, and the other was as ice in water. Ice and fire were incompatible and there was a crackling sound. This was a real move and also a fake move. The real move was because of the fierce strength of the two's fists. The fake move was because they were only using this move to measure the opponent's strength, and the killing intent was not obvious enough. The old monster's fist was still pressed against Fang Yan's palm, but his fist had turned into a claw, and his wrist moved quickly, and the lucky grappling hand directly grabbed the pulse of Fang Yan's wrist. As long as he grabbed it, Fang Yan's body would immediately lose the ability to move. The little goblin was waiting on the side, ready to attack at any time, and Fang Yan would definitely die. Fang Yan couldn't help but smile. "I'm also good at this move," Fang Yan said. The lucky grappling hand was one of the 3 major grappling techniques of Tai Chi. The Fang family's Tai Chi used the lucky grappling hand. When he was very young, he began to practice turning hands with the old drunkard, and they made a bet that whoever won would win $1 from the other party. In the beginning, Fang Yan's pocket money was all won by the old drunkard. Later, as he grew older and became more and more proficient in this move, the two of them became evenly matched, and the winning and losing ratio was 50-50. When the heart of Tai Chi appeared, he could move his heart at will, and his palms were connected. When he turned hands with the old drunkard again, he won more than he lost. Of course, at that time, the old drunkard was no longer in his peak state, and he was no longer in the mood to turn hands with him. Thus, on this night with the bright moon in the sky on this dangerous mountain peak, a dazzling scene appeared. The old monster's claws desperately tried to grab Fang Yan's wrist, while Fang Yan's right hand turned into a claw to grab the old monster's wrist while avoiding the old monster's grasp. Their hands seemed to be glued together by rubber honey, and it was difficult to separate them. They flew up and down as fast as lightning. Whoosh! The old monster was still a beat too slow, and Fang Yan's thumb suddenly pressed on the Mingmen acupoint on his wrist. The old monster's body went numb, and he lost the ability to move. The little goblin was anxious and he attacked again with his knife. Fang Yan grabbed the old monster's wrist with one hand, and pushed his body toward the little goblin's knife. The little goblin couldn't retract his knife in time, and the knife cut a long wound on the old monster's back. Dong dong dong, the little goblin took 3 steps back and he didn't dare to attack again. "Who the hell are you?" the little goblin shouted. Her voice was originally sharp, as if she was arguing with someone while pinching her throat. "With the hostage in hand, the world is mine." Fang Yan grabbed the old monster's wrist and said with a smile, "You learned some Tai Chi Kung Fu and now you want to be an assassin. Are you going to kill me? Do you have the ability to kill me?" Fang Yan knew that the little goblin and the old monster wouldn't answer his difficult questions, so he said, "Now let's play a quick game. I ask a question and you immediately tell me the answer or else." Fang Yan thought for a moment and said, "I'll break one of his fingers." First question: where did you learn Tai Chi? Crack. As soon as Fang Yan finished speaking, the sound of a finger breaking was heard. The little goblin was angry and the old monster was about to cry. They didn't even have time to answer. How could he break someone's finger? "Sorry, I was too nervous," Fang Yan apologized awkwardly and said with embarrassment. Chapter 122. If the little goblin and the old monster were not hostages, the little goblin and the old monster would have been swearing at each other. The hand belonged to the old monster, and the one answering the question was the little goblin. "What did it have to do with you? Why are you so nervous?" "We are the ones who should be nervous, okay?" Fang Yan waved his hand, indicating that the previous time did not count. He held the Mingmen acupoint on the old monster's wrist with one hand, and grabbed the 5 fingers of the old monster's right hand with the other. "Come on, the previous time does not count. Let's continue the game. First question: where did you learn Tai Chi?" The little goblin looked at the old monster as if he wanted to say something. Crack. Fang Yan exerted force on his fingers and broke another one of the old monster's fingers. Because Fang Yan exerted too much force this time, the old monster's fingers were almost broken at a 90-degree angle. Even though the old monster had been through hundreds of battles, he still could not bear the pain. He gritted his teeth and groaned. "What are you doing?" the little goblin roared. He moved his right foot forward as if he was ready to attack at any time. "You did it on purpose." "Yes. I did it on purpose this time," Fang Yan said honestly. "I didn't explain the rules clearly just now, so I'll add a few more. After I ask the question, the person who answers the question must not hesitate or waste any time. The two of you must not talk to each other, not even through eye contact. Who knows if there are any chips implanted in your eyes that allow you to send messages through eye contact or something." "You didn't explain the rules clearly. Why did you break his fingers?" the little goblin said angrily. "Why should someone else bear the responsibility for your mistake?" Fang Yen sneered. He looked at the little goblin and said, "You are assassins, not childish kids. Don't you know this better than me? Now all of you are in my hands. Everything I say is the law. Everything I do is the law. It doesn't matter if it's my fault or not. If I say it's your fault, then it's your fault. Did you tell me the rules when you killed me? I don't think so." The little goblin wanted to say something but stopped. She really couldn't refute Fang Yan's words. If they had succeeded just now, Fang Yan would have been a dead man by now. They wouldn't teach him any rules or play some idiotic game of quick answers. A philosopher in the world of assassins once said, "Wasting time is equivalent to slowly committing suicide." "Do you understand now?" Fang Yan asked with a smile. "If you understand, then let's start again. First question, who sent you to kill me?" The little goblin opened her mouth but quickly closed it again. This cunning bastard was as cunning as a fox and as treacherous as a coyote. He actually played tricks on them. He actually played interrogation psychology with them. Fang Yan broke the first finger of the little goblin and the old monster when they were defenseless. That was to make them tense and ready to answer any question Fang Yan asked. Because they didn't know why he would do it and they didn't know when he would do it. They couldn't guard against him, but they had to guard against him. The reason Fang Yan broke the second finger of the old monster was that the little goblin answered the question too slowly and was suspected of making eye contact. Because of the hesitation, because of the pause, the old monster broke a finger. This made the little goblin and the old monster more focused, and they even had the answer on the tip of their tongue. As long as Fang Yan asked another question, they would immediately say the answer he wanted. However, the third question he asked was about the mastermind behind the scene. He suddenly changed the question and they almost blurted out the answer. Fortunately, they reacted quickly and forcibly held back the answer. If they leaked the buyer's information, they would violate the professional spirit of assassins. Not only would it be difficult for them to establish a foothold in this profession, but they would also be hunted by the organization. The first Assassin's Creed, kill the target. The second Assassin's Creed, never leak the employer's information. The third Assassin's Creed, loyalty to the employer comes first. Fang Yan looked at the old monster in his hands, and then looked at the little goblin's happy eyes in front of him. He couldn't help but feel happy. He said, "Do you think I'm very smart?" Crack. Fang Yan slowly broke the third finger of the old monster. Fang Yan patted the back of the old monster's hand and said, "This is the price for refusing to answer the question." The old monster and the little goblin stared at Fang Yan viciously. They were almost about to explode from anger. Toing. Such words involuntarily popped up in their minds. He was playing with them, playing with their bodies, playing with their feelings. They were assassins. No two long-established assassins were toyed with like this. It had to be said that this was a form of humiliation. "You can kill me," the old monster looked at Fang Yan and said, "but I can guarantee you that you will be in danger for the rest of your life, and your life will be taken away at any time." "Is this a threat?" Fang Yan said sarcastically. "Even the knives in your hands can't scare me. Do you think your lips can do things that knives can't?" "What do you want?" the little goblin said. "We can make a deal." "You have no right to make a deal with me. Answer my first question first. Where did you learn Tai Chi?" Fang Yan asked again. The little goblin confirmed the content of Fang Yan's question and said in a low voice, "We learned from Wen Qingxue for a while." "Wen Tai Chi?" Fang Yan asked. Wen Tai Chi was a branch of Qin Tai Chi and one of the main branches of Wuxia Tai Chi. Wen Qingxue was a famous Tai Chi master in Wuxia country. He was known as the Swallow in the Cloud. Fang Yan saw with his own eyes that Wen Qingxue in a white tang suit stepped on the edge of the copper basin with one foot and walked along it. The copper basin was empty, but it did not tilt to one side. Wen Qingxue's posture was like a swallow flying in the clouds. That was why he was known as the Swallow in the Cloud. Fang Yan looked at the little goblin seriously and said, "Who are you to Wen Qingxue?" The little goblin did not answer. Fang Yan suddenly remembered a secret and asked in surprise, "You are Wen Qingxue's abandoned disciple?" Rumor had it that Wen Qingxue had two things when he was young. One was that he had many disciples and the other was that he had many women. One of the disciples fell in love with his favorite lover. Somehow, Wen Qingxue found out about this. Wen Qingxue was furious and threatened to cripple the two. The disciple and the lover ran away and were never heard from again. One should not wash one's dirty linen in public. Very few people knew about this. Fang Yan also overheard it by accident. Now that he heard the little goblin say that they learned Tai Chi from Wen Qingxue, could it be that these two were the lover and disciple that Wen Qingxue had chased away? Tai Chi is a martial art that strengthens the body, but you used it to kill people. You can kill bad people, but you even killed people like me. Do you still have a conscience? Assassins work for money. They don't care about good or evil, the old monster said coldly. You sound free and easy, Fang Yen laughed coldly. You still have 2 fingers on this hand. I also have 2 questions to ask. First, who sent you to kill me? The little goblin and the old monster did not answer. Crack. Fang Yen exerted force again and broke the old monster's 4th finger. This hand still has the best finger. I also have one last question. Fang Yen said. Who sent you to kill me? This was the last question and the last chance. If they were still unwilling to answer, then Fang Yen did not mind showing them the violence of a gentle man. I don't know, the old monster said. No one knows. They were contacted through an organization. I am not satisfied with this answer. I have to apologize to you again, Fang Yen said. At this moment, the little goblin rushed toward Fang Yen with the blade in his hand. He looked like he wanted to die together with his lover. Fang Yen grabbed the old monster's wrist and pushed him away. The old monster was his natural shield. He did not believe that the little goblin would dare to attack his lover, the old monster. As long as the old monster did not die, Fang Yen would not have to worry. Soon, Fang Yen realized that he was wrong. The little goblin really attacked the old monster. Moreover, this attack was very fierce and cruel. The blade in her hand was just a disguise. She didn't know when, but she had changed the blade into a long prismatic blade. The long sword slashed at the old monster's arm. Due to the force, the arm that was in Fang Yan's hand was cut off. Smoke rose around Fang Yan, and a flame flew toward Fang Yan. Fang Yan swung the broken arm to knock away the phosphor stones. When he could see again, he saw the little goblin and the old monster holding hands and jumping into the tiger-leaping gorge. The gorge was unfathomably deep in the mountain wind. Suicide? No, the warrior cut off his arm to survive. After descending a certain distance, a large black cloth suddenly bulged behind them. The black cloth unfolded in the strong wind and turned into a natural parachute. On the little goblin's back was a mini parachute bag. It seemed that there was a reason why they chose the tiger-leaping gorge as their attack point. Fang Yan stood in the gorge and watched them for a long time. He only retracted his gaze when they disappeared from his sight. Raising his bloody arm, Fang Yan sighed and said, "Killers, killers, they have to kill their own hands at the critical moment." Fang Yan thought that they were really cruel. Ordinary people would not have been able to do this. Chapter 123. Zheng Guodong let out a groan. All the bones in his body were in pain, as if they were about to fall apart. However, if they really did fall apart, those bones would no longer be his bones. He might just become a pile of white bones, and it would not be as painful as this. Zheng Guodong's face was on the ground, and his body was lying on the hard rock below him. Just as he was about to turn his body and change into a more comfortable sleeping or sitting position, someone suddenly shouted, "Zheng Guodong, don't move." Zheng Guodong turned around and looked over with the help of the faint moonlight. It was his little friend, Li Yang, who was shouting at him. His expression was very nervous and frightened, as if there was a Cobra King above his head. If he moved his body, he might provoke the Cobra King and cause it to pounce at him. Poisonous snake? Zheng Guodong was most afraid of these soft and slippery animals that emitted a cold aura. He quickly raised his head and looked up. Above him was the bright moon and stars, and there was nothing that was very dangerous to him. Zheng Guodong, don't move. After thinking about Li Yang's words again, Zheng Guodong finally realized a serious problem. He stared at Li Yang and said, "What did you call me just now?" Zheng Guodong. Zheng. Li Yang, in a moment of desperation, directly shouted Zheng Guodong's name. Under his coercion, the fear and avoidance that he had accumulated over a long period of time caused him to change the way he called him, which could better accentuate his low status, Zheng. However, when he thought about how Zheng Guodong was still arguing with him over such a trivial matter, his heart burned with fury. He shouted, "Look at what's next to you." "What's next to me?" Zheng Guodong looked to his right and immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. A cliff. Not far from him was the misty, bottomless canyon of Mount Zhangxia. The mountain wind was piercingly cold, and Zheng Guodong's body felt even colder. Their current position was a concave rock formation that extended out from the side of the cliff. When they were kicked down, they were saved by these large rocks. Otherwise, they would have fallen into the canyon and been smashed to pieces. However, if he dared to casually flip it, there was a risk that he might roll out of the groove. Therefore, Li Yang's reminder was timely and crucial. Zheng Guodong thought for a moment and felt ashamed to face Li Yang. He said, "You can call me Zheng Guodong from now on." Li Yang was overjoyed. He thought that this was a blessing in disguise. He had finally become Zheng Guodong's loyal confidant, and his position was more important than Qin Tao's. The smile on his face froze before it could spread, and the joy in his heart disappeared before it could spread. What was there to be happy about in such an environment and such an encounter? What was this bit of good fortune compared to the disaster he had encountered? "Zheng, what do we do now?" Li Yang asked. "How would I know?" Zheng Guodong said gloomily. He didn't even dare to turn around, so what could he think of? "Zheng." "Li Yang." A weak voice sounded. Zheng Guodong and Li Yang followed the voice and finally found Qin Tao, who was hidden by the thick leaves and brambles. Li Yang shouted, "Qin Tao, are you okay? How are you?" "My hand is broken, my hand is broken." Qin Tao cried. "I can't move my hand." "Shut up," Zheng Guodong growled in a low voice. "Why are you crying? What is this place? What if those two people hear us?" Hearing Zheng Guodong mention the two ruthless men in the dark who wanted to kill them, Li Yang didn't dare to speak, and Qin Tao didn't dare to cry anymore. It was too scary. Silence. A long silence. This time it was Zheng Guodong who broke the silence. "Who wants to hurt us?" Zheng Guodong asked. "Who has such a big grudge against us that they would treat us so cruelly?" Li Tao is narrow-minded. "Young Master Zheng stole his girlfriend, so maybe he'll find someone to do this to us." Zhang Kai's also said that as long as there is a chance, he will make us suffer. "Last time when we played football in the sports school, Luo Mingjia also threatened us, saying not to let them see us outside the school, or else they would beat us up. And Wang Jun from number 21 High, we don't get along with him either. Linley from number 19 High also has a motive, and the coach from Glory Martial Arts School, didn't he also break one of Zheng's fingers last time?" "I asked you who wants to kill us," Zheng Guodong said grumpily. "Why are you mentioning them?" "Boss." Qin Tao finally spoke. "Could be any one of them." Zheng Guodong was very sad. He had always thought that he had friends all over the world, but he didn't expect to have so many enemies. Sigh. Li Yang sighed softly. "Zheng, we have offended too many people in the past. We have to change it in the future," Qin Tao also said. "If we can survive this, I'll definitely turn over a new leaf." "Me too," Li Yang said. "I will apologize to everyone we offended in the past. I will introduce a new girlfriend to Li Tao, give Zhang Kai's a fair chance, and play a friendly match with Luo Mingjia from the sports school. Do you guys think it's Fang Yan who did it?" Zheng Guodong suddenly interrupted Li Yang and asked. "Fang Yan? That's impossible, right?" Li Yang said. "Why would he do that? What good would it do him if he did that? He is our homeroom teacher, he has to take responsibility." "Why can't he do that?" Zheng Guodong sneered. "Do you think we don't have enough conflicts? We tried to harm him time and time again, didn't he want to harm us once? But he doesn't have to be so vicious, right? They are trying to kill us," Qin Tao said with a lingering fear in his heart. "Moreover, Fang Yan is alone and there are two men in black. Idiot. Why didn't he find a helper?" Zheng Guodong retorted. "Don't tell me that person in black is Qin Yitian?" "No." Li Yang and Qin Tao denied at the same time. Zheng Guodong wanted to look up at Li Yang and Qin Tao's expressions, but he couldn't move because of the environment. "You two, don't tell me you like Qin Yitian?" Li Yang began to cry out in pain as if he was in great pain. Qin Tao cried again and he cried miserably, "My hand is broken, boss, my hand is broken." Zheng Guodong sighed and said, "Even if you like Qin Yitian, I won't blame you. Who doesn't like him?" He thought about it and solemnly promised, "If we go back safely this time, we three brothers will go after Qin Yitian fairly. Whoever wins will get it." Li Yang and Qin Tao were overjoyed, and they felt that they had a goal in life. "It must be Fang Yan," Zheng Guodong said fiercely again. "This guy is too tolerant. After we set him up last time, he acted as if nothing happened and even smiled when he saw us. When we got on the car this morning, he even smiled at me. Now that I think about it, it was a bit meaningful. Why didn't I think about why he smiled at me?" "Are you sure?" someone asked. "Yes," Zheng Guodong said with certainty. "Who else could it be if not him? This bastard doesn't make any moves, but when he does, it's a killing move. We can't defend against it, and he knows martial arts." Before Zheng Guodong finished his words, he suddenly looked up. As far as he could see, a black silhouette was leaping towards their location. Wasn't that person Fang Yan, who he suspected? Fang Yan had a rope woven from tree vines tied around his waist, and one end of the rope was tied to the trunk of a big tree. He grabbed the rope and put it down step by step toward the notch where Zheng Guodong was. When he was looking for the rope, he had already heard the conversation between Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Qin Tao. He heard the three of them guessing who was behind them, and he really felt a little guilty for them. This time they had suffered an undeserved calamity. They were implicated by their own actions, which was why they were kicked down. They were just bait to lure him out. But when he heard that these little bastards had offended so many people and done so many shameful things, he felt that it was good to teach them a lesson. When he heard that Zheng Guodong actually suspected him, he had the urge to turn around and go back to sleep. I'm an upright teacher, okay? Would I do something that was tasteless and would bring trouble to myself? Do you think I'm as stupid as you? Seeing that Fang Yan had come to save him, Li Yang was overjoyed and shouted, Mr. Fang, is that you? Are you here to save us? Fang Yan almost missed his step and hit his head on the cliff. Please use your knees to think. If I'm not here to save you, am I here to kill you? Qin Tao cried again and shouted, Mr. Fang? Mr. Fang, save me. My hand is broken. My hand is broken. Shut up, Fang Yan shouted. Lower your voice. Qin Tao, you shut up. Don't attract those men in black again. Li Yang also reprimanded. Mr. Fang, do you think I'm right? Qin Tao, really shut up. What's right? Fang Yan said snappily. I just think it's annoying when he cries. Fang Yan took the lead and jumped to Li Yang's side. He untied the rattan rope around his waist and tied their bodies together tightly. Then he said to Li Yang, when I take you up, remember to hug me. Hug me tightly. Li Yang understood and quickly put his hands around Fang Yan's neck and put his legs on Fang Yan's waist. The two hugged each other face to face, and there was no gap between them. When it came to life and death, he would not take it lightly. Fang Yan carried the rattan rope and prepared to climb up. He thought about it and untied the rope around his waist and said, I'll tie you behind my back. Chapter 124. Fang Yan tied Li Yang behind him and slowly carried him up with the rattan rope. Then he went down again and carried Qin Tao up as well. Qin Tao grabbed Fang Yan's arm and cried, Mr. Fang, my hand is broken, my hand is broken, please save me. I'm dying. Fang Yan touched Qin Tao's arm and asked, Are you afraid of pain? Yes, Qin Tao said. That's good. As Fang Yan spoke, he held Qin Tao's arm with one hand and pushed and pulled with the other hand. There was a crisp crack sound and Qin Tao's pig-like howl. Qin Tao's hand was fixed. If you are not very busy, try to see if you can move your arm first. Fang Yan said to Qin Tao, who was screaming with his mouth open. Qin Tao shook his head and cried even more miserably. He said, Mr. Fang, it's really broken this time? It hurts. Fang Yan saw that Qin Tao did not dare to move. He grabbed Qin Tao's hand and pulled it back and forth. Then he raised it up and waved it like a lucky cat. He said, It's fixed. Qin Tao opened his eyes and looked at it. It was really fixed. Although it was very painful, his arm and fingers could move freely. It was not like when he was down there, he could not feel them at all. His brain could not command them at all. Mr. Fang really fixed it, really fixed it? Qin Tao said happily. No matter what kind of contradiction he had with Fang Yan in the past, or how much hatred he had for him in his heart at this moment, he was sincerely grateful to Fang Yan. At the critical moment, a man tied a tree vine and pulled you back from a dangerous situation. How could you resist and ignore such help? Li Yang sat on the ground and looked at Fang Yan, who was treating Qin Tao's arm. Li Yang's eyes were empty. He didn't know what he was thinking or if he hadn't woken up from the nightmarish incident that happened tonight. Fang Yan stood up and said to Qin Tao and Li Yang, Can you two walk? Qin Tao stood up and walked a few steps before saying, Mr. Fang, I'm fine. I'm fine too, Li Yang said. Then let's go back, Fang Yan said. Go back. Qin Tao and Li Yang looked at Fang Yan in surprise. Go back just like that? What about Zheng Guodong? He was still down there and hadn't been rescued. Mr. Fang, Zheng Guodong is still down there, Qin Tao said anxiously. Who is Zheng Guodong? Fang Yan asked. Because Fang Yan didn't lower his voice, Zheng Guodong, who was lying below, heard Fang Yan's words clearly. Hearing that Fang Yan asked Qin Tao and Li Yang to go back and completely ignored his existence, he was so angry that he shouted, Fang Yan, you bastard, you beast, you bastard. You want to kill me? You are using your power to avenge your private grudge. You just want me to die. Fang Yan, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. My father won't let you go and the police won't let you go. Silence. It was dead silence. In addition to the whistling of the mountain wind and the occasional chirping of birds and insects, Zheng Guodong's shouting got no response from anyone. Gone? Really gone? Zheng Guodong almost collapsed. Fang Yen, you bastard, you want to kill me, you want to kill me? Liang, you traitor, you are ungrateful, you are not a good thing. Qintao, you dare to leave me behind and run away. When I get out, I will make you suffer. I will make you all die a horrible death. Fang Yen stood on the edge of the cliff, looked at the two young students standing in front of him with pale faces and said, Now do you see what kind of person he is? I can understand that you didn't know before. Now if you still don't know, it only proves that you are stupid. It doesn't matter if a person is simple or stupid, but if he is stupid, he will hurt others and himself. Qintao opened his mouth again and again, but in the end he couldn't say anything. Liang looked at the bottom of the cliff, and then looked at Fang Yen and said in a weak voice, Mr. Fang, save him. No matter what, he is your student. I don't think so. Fang Yen sneered. I can't be everyone's teacher, but not everyone is worthy of being my student. I have a reputation to cherish and I have feathers to protect. I am selfless and I am willing to impart my knowledge to you selflessly. I am also selfish and I don't want to nail myself to the pillar of shame in history because of a fly. Fang Yen glanced at the bottom of the cliff and said, I think he is definitely not willing to recognize me as his teacher. Liang and Qintao were silent. They understood Zheng Guodong's character, and they also knew what they had done to Fang Yen. If it hadn't happened tonight, the two of them would probably be plotting with Zheng Guodong on how to expel Fang Yen from the school. However, I will still save him. Fang Yen said. Thank you, Mr. Fang. Liang said. You are great. In the past we really let you down. Mr. Fang, we have done a lot of wrong things. I hope you can forgive. Qintao also said with a face full of guilt. I have to save him. Fang Yen smiled bitterly. I brought him out, so I have the responsibility to bring him back. No matter how much I dislike him. You two wait up there for a while. Fang Yen said. Then he pulled the vine rope again and climbed down to save the guy who was still shouting. The sky had just revealed a touch of white, and the students of Class 9 had already gathered at the entrance of the hotel. When Huang Haoran called the roll, Zheng Guodong and his two King Kong, Liang and Qintao did not appear and everyone was used to it. The three of them were the oddities of the school and usually they never put the rules and regulations in their eyes. Because of their strong background, the teachers of the school could not do anything about it, so they could only let them be. Mr. Fang, Zheng Guodong, Liang and Qintao are not here, the rest are all here. Huang Haoran ran to Fang Yen and reported. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were also among the students, but they were not on the list of Class 9. It's okay. Fang Yen said with a smile. What happened last night was still confidential for the time being, and it could not be known by other students. Zheng Guodong, Liang and Qintao were frightened, and it was not easy for them not to go home that night. Now that they were not willing to participate in the activity, it was understandable. At this moment, Liang and Qintao ran out of the hotel. Qintao ran while zipping up his hoodie. The two of them quickly ran to Fang Yen and apologized. Mr. Fang, sorry we got up late. Everyone looked at Liang and Qintao strangely. Did something happen to them today? They were not with Zheng Guodong? And they took the initiative to apologize to Mr. Fang Yen because they came late? It was too strange. Fang Yen looked at Liang and Qintao and asked, Are you okay? It's okay. Qintao said. We also want to follow everyone to see the sunrise. Let's go. Let's go to Line Gorge. Fang Yen said with a smile. However, I have a condition. I promise you to go to see the sunrise, and you must help me take care of your own safety. Is that okay? Mr. Fang, don't worry. We will pay attention. Yes, don't mess around. Don't cause trouble for Mr. Fang. Whatever Mr. Fang says, we will do it. Fang Yen waved his hand and said with a smile, Don't be nervous, everyone. I'm just giving you a kind reminder. You enjoy this rare scenery and I will always be with you. So, with Tangqing leading the team in front and Fang Yen at the back, a group of people walked toward the best scenic spot, Line Gorge. When the dark sky was torn apart, the white of the fish's belly turned into the white of the fish's scales, then the fish's body, then the white became goose yellow became light red, and light red became deep red. A red sun slowly appeared on the horizon of the Grand Canyon. The students exclaimed, and more people took out their mobile phones to take photos. Some people stood together in groups of 3 to 5 and asked other students to help take photos. Everyone was having a good time. Fang Yen stood behind the railing and looked at the scene of the rising sun surrounded by mist. He felt like a seed was germinating and weeds were growing wildly in his heart. A beautiful picture of a red sun rising in the east appeared in his mind. His dantian became hot again, and the heart of Tai Chi, which had been immersed for a while, started to rotate again. Moreover, this time the speed of rotation was even faster and it was even more forceful. It wasn't as intermittent as before. Instead, it connected into a long, thin line. This long line ran through his whole body, flowing through every meridian and impacting every acupoint in his body. It was numb and itchy as if he was sunbathing. Fang Yin felt very comfortable, and every pore of his body was in a state of excitement. He had a strong impulse to do a round of Tai Chi on the summit of Shisha Mountain. He thought so, and so he did. He drew a circle with the tip of his foot and held the circle with both hands, stretching his body infinitely. With one foot as the core, he slowly danced along the rotation of the heart of Tai Chi, indomitable spirit, standing in the center like a boundless elephant. Fang Yin recited the song and held the circle horizontally with both hands. With a flash of inspiration, the Tai Chi will move in all directions. He turned his head slightly, then his waist and arms. His left and right palms flew up and down, and it was hard to see with the naked eye. Just then, an early butterfly landed in the center of his palm. Every blade of grass and every tree had life. Every insect and every fish had spirituality. Fang Yin smiled at the butterfly and then let it move up and down in his palm. He stretched out his hands and shook his arms up and down according to the frequency of the butterfly's flapping wings, rising and falling, borrowing the force of the butterfly. Every time the butterfly gathered its strength and was about to fly, it happened to be offset by his strength. When the butterfly's body fell, it was pushed high into the sky by his rebound force. The green mountains and clear waters were shining and the sun was shining. Fang Yin, who was dressed in white, was handsome and elegant, like an elegant young master living in seclusion in a deep valley. Chapter 125. Fang Yin opened his palm and his arm rose and fell up and down. The butterfly was like a boat in the sea, being tossed up and down and unable to escape. He exerted his strength lightly, and his posture was freehand. The man and nature were integrated into one, like a beautiful landscape painting. Look! Yuan Lin pulled the arm of Jiang Qin, who was excitedly taking photos of the red sun, and pointed to Fang Yin not far away and shouted. Jiang Qin turned around and his eyes lit up instantly. He was immediately fascinated by the scene in front of him. At this time, Fang Yin danced with the wind, and the red light all over the sky enveloped him. He was ethereal like a hidden master or a peerless immortal. So handsome. Yuan Lin's eyes were also full of little stars. Uncle is so handsome. I didn't expect a man who does Tai Chi to be so charming. Jiang Qin was silent and did not answer. He just stared at Fang Yin not far away with burning eyes. Sweetheart, say something. Are you stunned? Yuan Lin grabbed Jiang Qin's arm and said. She hoped that what she said could get Jiang Qin's response and resonance. Jiang Qin's silence made her very disappointed. Not only handsome, Jiang Qin said. His eyes never left Fang Yin. What is that? Temperament, Jiang Qin said. I don't think I'll be able to see such a temperament in any other guy ever again. Yuan Lin thought about it and said with annoyance, it's really annoying. Everyone came out to watch the sunrise together, which was the most exciting thing for Tangqing. Because when everyone came out together, Qin Yiqian would also come out. When Qin Yiqian came out, he would have the opportunity to watch the sunrise alone with her. Of course, as the famous school hunk in the school, he was embarrassed to show all his happiness on his face. Today, Tangqing deliberately chose a set of white clover sportswear, which made him look outstanding in the crowd, like a dazzling and proud white swan. As soon as he appeared, he immediately attracted the cheers of many girls in the class. Tangqing had always been by Qin Yiqian's side. Being able to watch the sunrise with his beloved girl would definitely leave a sweet and deep memory in her heart. Decades later she could even take it out to drink. Qin Yiqian looked at the rising red sun in the Grand Canyon, as if he was stunned by the beautiful scenery in front of him. He did not speak for a long time. Tangqing really wanted to ask someone to take a group photo for them, but he was afraid that it would disturb Qin Yiqian's mood, so he couldn't ask. Therefore, Qin Yiqian didn't speak and neither did he. Qin Yiqian looked at the scenery in front of him attentively while Tangqing looked at Qin Yiqian attentively. You stand on the bridge and look at the scenery. The person who looks at the scenery is looking at you from the bridge. Tangqing suddenly thought of this poem. At this moment he was deeply moved. Qin Yiqian sighed softly, and his line of sight finally moved away from the picture of the rising sun. Nature is really great. Man can conquer nature. It is nothing more than the arrogant delusion of us mortals. Tangqing was overjoyed. He finally waited for the opportunity and said, "Qi Tian, shall we take a photo together?" Worried that Qi Tian would not agree, he added, "The other students are taking photos." Okay. Qi Tian readily agreed. Tangqing waved his hand and shouted, "Fang Hong, come and help us take a photo." Fang Hong trotted over and asked, "Do you want to use my camera or your mobile phone?" "Use my mobile phone," Tangqing said. He was worried that if he used someone else's mobile phone or camera, these guys would secretly save a copy of Qi Tian's photo. They would definitely do so. It should be known that Qi Tian would not take a photo with anyone easily. Fang Hong took Tangqing's mobile phone and said, "Are you ready?" Tangqing and Qi Tian turned around and prepared to take a photo with their backs to the red sun. Tangqing thought about it and stood closer to Qi Tian. He thought about it again and stood closer. He wanted to be closer, but he did not dare to move this time. "Get ready," Fang Hong shouted. At this moment someone shouted, "Look at Mr. Fang. Ah, look, it's really Mr. Fang. Teacher Fang is doing Tai Chi. He's so cool." Hearing everyone's voice, Qi Tian also looked in the direction of Fang Yan. Her eyes were full of affection, and the corners of her mouth were slightly raised, with a heartwarming smile. Fang Hong also wanted to see teacher Fang Yan do Tai Chi, but since he was entrusted by someone, he must do the things at hand first. So he shouted, "Tangqing, are you two ready?" Tangqing looked at Qi Tian's side face and saw that when she stood with him, she turned her head to look at another man seriously and attentively. He saw the joy and obsession in her eyes. How could such a scene be taken? Even if it was taken, it would be a great irony to himself, right? Tangqing waved his hand and said weakly, "For the time being, let's not take photos." It had to be said that this scene was too surprising. Just now, the students of Class 9 took out their cameras and mobile phones to take photos of the red sun and the beautiful scenery of Xixia in the early morning. Now, everyone pointed the camera at Fang Yan, who was doing Tai Chi, and moved the shutter. Click. Even Qi Tian, who never took photos, took out a special mobile phone, adjusted the focus, and froze the picture of Fang Yan doing Tai Chi. Even some tourists who deliberately stayed at Xixia Mountain to watch the sunrise took out their mobile phones and kept taking photos when they saw Fang Yan, who was an anomaly. Someone said happily, "Xixia Mountain is developing better and better. The last time we came, they didn't specially send people out to do Tai Chi for us. I didn't make a mistake asking you to come here, did I?" Fang Yan was so lost in his own world that he couldn't hear the praises and comments of his friends around him. He didn't even notice that they were taking photos of him. He followed the guidance of the heart of Tai Chi and performed the moves of Tai Chi in his mind. Fang Yan was Tai Chi and Tai Chi was Fang Yan. With the heart of Tai Chi as a medium, he finally became one with Tai Chi again and became a complete ball. He could adjust his breathing and he could look inside his body. Under Fang Yan's waving, the power of Tai Chi in the heart of Tai Chi circulated faster and faster. The stream turned into a stream and the stream gathered into a river. The river rushed through every meridian and acupoint in his body. There was a mist around Fang Yan and his body was steaming. The heat and the mist condensed together. Fang Yan's entire body was drenched in sweat, and his clothes were completely soaked. However, his complexion was rosier, and his skin was whiter and more translucent, showing a translucent state. After playing with the butterfly for a while, Fang Yan raised his hands and shouted, "Up!" The colorful butterfly suddenly felt that the heavy binding on its body was lifted. It flapped its wings and flew into the sky. It circled above Fang Yan's head twice, then flew into the distance and disappeared in an instant. Fang Yan drew a circle in front of him with the tip of his foot, and his body slowly retracted. He stood at attention, then gently exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. The practice of Tai Chi made him feel refreshed, and his body felt relaxed and comfortable as if it had been reborn. The fist style ended, but the heart of Tai Chi was still working normally. Although it wasn't as turbulent as before, it didn't break and it still existed. He knew that after this incident, his heart of Tai Chi had finally been completely activated. Fang Yan was extremely excited. The trip to Mount Xinxia was not in vain. "Mr. Fang, wipe your sweat." Jiang Qin trotted over and handed over the handkerchief he borrowed from Yuan Lin. Yuan Lin wanted to do it herself, but she beat him to it. Fang Yan refused and said, "No need. I'm sweaty all over and I don't want to ruin your beautiful handkerchief. You can go back to your room and take a bath." "Let me do it." Qi Tian walked over and took the handkerchief from Jiang Qin's hand. He naturally helped Fang Yen wipe the sweat on his face. Fang Yen was speechless. "Qini Tian, can't you get permission from others before you do anything?" Jiang Qin was even more speechless. She even felt a little aggrieved. "I borrowed the handkerchief from my friend. Why should I give it to you?" She even wanted to yell at Qini Tian, but when she saw Qini Tian's carefree manner as if everything was supposed to be like this, she couldn't say what she wanted to say. It really took courage to face such an opponent. All right. Fang Yen took the handkerchief from Qini Tian's hand. I'll do it myself. The other students crowded around and praised Fang Yen at the same time. They praised Fang Yen as if he was the only one in the world. Fang Yen said that he was just playing, but he was very happy in his heart. Didn't people live for a face and a mouth? The other tourists also gathered around, wanting to take photos with the Tai Chi performer Fang Yen. Among them there were many beautiful tourists who came alone. Of course, Fang Yan's students rejected them on his behalf. They also explained that Fang Yen was just a teacher, not a Tai Chi performer on Shisha Mountain. Only then did they leave with regret. A middle-aged man wearing glasses came over, looked at Fang Yen and said, "Sir, can I have a word with you?" Fang Yen looked at him carefully and said, "I don't know you. Why should I have a word with you? Who are you? What can I do for you?" The middle-aged man laughed and said, "Sir, I'm a talent scout. I saw your Tai Chi performance just now and I think you are very talented. I want to invite you to shoot a movie." Talent scout? Shoot a movie? Fang Yen looked at the middle-aged man in surprise and asked excitedly, "I just waved my hands casually, and I was chosen by a talent scout? Can I enter the entertainment circle? Join a beauty group, get to know a big star, and casually act in a movie to earn more than $1 billion? Sir." The middle-aged man was speechless. "I think, you think too much." Chapter 126. Why am I overthinking it? Fang Yen said angrily. "If others can do it, why can't I? Sir, Tang Tianwang is a legend in our entertainment circle. No one has been able to break the record he has created until now. I think I can do it too," Fang Yen said. "Find me a group of beauties and let me join, sir. I'm also very good looking. It's not a problem for me to dress up as a woman, sir. Are you really a talent scout?" "Yes." "Then you can't see that I have the potential in this area?" "Sir, to tell you the truth." The middle-aged man was on the verge of collapse. "I don't see it. You insulted me like this and you still want to borrow a step from me? I have something very important to talk to you about. Isn't it just filming? You still have the nerve to ask me to be the lead in a movie that can't get $1 billion in the box office? Sir, we're not looking for you to be the lead. Well, we want to work with you on some details." "How detailed?" "Shoot some MV scenes." Fang Yen shook his head and said, "No. First, I won't take on movies that aren't big investments. Second, I can't trust you. I know that talent scouts are all on the street. When they see a beautiful girl, they rush up and say, 'Miss, I think you have a lot of potential. Would you like to go back with me to make a movie?' Then they take her to a very remote and dilapidated room for an interview, saying that they want to test your acting skills and comprehension, and then they ask the girl to take off her clothes. You're not trying to sleep with me, are you?" "Sir, we don't have such considerations. Our Huaxing Entertainment is a big company, it's impossible for us to do such a thing." "Who knows?" Fang Yen sneered. "When the time comes, if I'm really deceived by you, I won't be able to answer even if I cry for help. How can I guarantee my innocence?" The middle-aged man knew that he had to tell the truth. He glanced around and said in a low voice, "Sir, I'm actually not a talent scout. I'm Miss Xia's agent. I want to talk to you." "Xia." Fang Yen felt that the name was a little familiar. "I don't know her either." The middle-aged man's face turned ugly and said, "Do you really not know Miss Xia? Stop joking, okay? How could there be someone who didn't know Miss Xia?" "Sir, I personally think that this is a good thing for you. It's a great opportunity for many people. If you can get Miss Xia's appreciation." "I still don't understand what you mean," Fang Yen said. "You just said that you're a talent scout and now you say that you're a woman's manager. What are you trying to do?" "One should be honest," Fang Yen said. "You lied to me once and you want me to believe your lies a second time? Alright, I'm very busy. Our conversation ends here." The middle-aged man was anxious. He took out a business card from his pocket and said, "Sir, take a look. I'm really Miss Xia Tian's agent. My name is Zhang Wei. It's like this." Miss Xia Tian happened to be shooting at Shisha Mountain today. She saw you performing Tai Chi in the morning light just now. She's very interested in you and wants to talk to you about choosing such a scene in her new song. All right. Fang Yin waved his hand and said, everyone is so busy, let's not waste each other's time. You still want to continue lying and I still have to take the students to breakfast. I'll take your business card. Let's talk next time. Fang Yin waved his hand and said, that's it. But Zhang Wei's face was full of regret as he said, if you change your mind you can call me at any time. You're thinking too much, Fang Yin said. He was very angry when Zhang Wei said that he was thinking too much. Now he finally had the chance to take revenge for this despicable act. What? A beautiful voice was full of doubt. A beautiful woman in a white ancient gown asked in surprise, he's not willing? Yes. Zhang Wei said helplessly. I sent him the most sincere invitation but he still refused. Zhang Wei, you don't have. Is there a problem with your attitude? Xia Tian knew that as she became more and more famous, the temper of the people around her also increased. Because she was kind-hearted and fond of old friendships, she was not willing to reprimand them easily, let alone dismiss them. Therefore, sometimes the attitude of the people around her would cause some people to have some prejudice against her. Miss, how could I do such a thing? How can I not know your temper? Zhang Wei said innocently. I know Miss wants to cooperate with him. My attitude is really good. But he just doesn't want to. Why not? What right does he have? The assistant who was busy putting on makeup for Xia Tian said angrily. Our sister Xia Tian can cooperate with anyone? Sister Xia Tian took the initiative to invite him, but he was not willing. He really doesn't know what's good for him. If I were to go, I would definitely scold him to death. Man. Xia Tian comforted softly. Don't say such things next time. Everyone has their own ambitions, we can't force others. I'm just angry at that person's arrogant attitude, the assistant said with grievance. Xia Tian smiled and asked, why didn't he agree? At first, I didn't want to expose Mrs. whereabouts, so I said that I was a talent scout and wanted to invite him to film. He refused. That's not true. But his request was too much. What request? If we can discuss it, we can also make up for it. He said that he only accepts movies with large investments. If the box office doesn't exceed 1 billion, don't look for him. Zhang Wei said with a sense of revenge. What? 1 billion box office? Does he think he's Heavenly King Tang? That's right, isn't he overestimating himself? Sister Xia, he can't be a madman, right? Must be. Zhang Wei's words caused the group of people around Xia to explode. All of them attacked and condemned Fang Yin, the guy who had spoken arrogantly. Feng Yuanqing, a famous domestic male star and the male lead of the ancient costume drama Divine Furnace, sneered and said, I've been in this circle for 5 or 6 years, and I only dare to say that I'm familiar with it. This guy wants a box office of 1 billion. Does he think he's a superstar? Sister Xia, don't you want to choose the male lead for your new song MTV? If you think it's suitable, I'll go over and act for you. I don't need a single cent, I'll pay for the plane ticket myself. Feng Yuanqing had always admired Xia. This was no secret in the circle. It wasn't strange at all that he wanted to act for Xia's new song MTV. Xia smiled silently and said, thank you, remote. If it's suitable, I'll definitely invite you to help me. But that person is really good. The scene of him standing on the top of the mountain doing Tai Chi was really unforgettable. You know, my new song wants to try a classical style. It's just a fancy fist and a show of legs. Feng Yuanqing said. Give me a few days of training and I can also play as well as him. I'll go visit the famous Tai Chi master, Mr. Zheng Longjian, and learn a few moves from him. I'll definitely be stronger than that kid. Xia smiled and said, it's too troublesome to be long distance. This matter will be put aside for now. Since there's no chance, let's talk about it later. Everyone saw that Xia didn't want to talk about this topic anymore. It must have been that man's refusal that made Xia lose face and annoyed her. Thus, the director immediately walked over and said, Xia, I'll show you this scene again. Actually, this scene is very simple. It's just that you and the long distance met at the top of the mountain where the sun rose, and then both sides fought because of a misunderstanding. The long distance pretended to be defeated by you and fell off the cliff. You were very anxious. After Zhang Wei left, Jiang Qin came over and asked, Mr. Fang, who is that person? Why did he look for you? First, he said he was a talent scout looking for me to shoot a movie, then he told me he was Xia's agent. I sent him away. Fang Yin said. Jiang Qin took the business card and looked at it. He said, "It seems that it really says he's Xiaxia's agent. If only it was. I love Xiaxia. However, this person must be lying. How could Xiaxia be here?" "Is that Xiaxia very famous?" Fang Yan asked. "He's too famous," Jiang Qin said excitedly. "She's definitely the most popular celebrity in China. I love every single one of her shows. By the way, her singing is also very good. She has the nickname of Golden Song Queen. That's why I said it couldn't be her. Forget about her. Let's go eat. After dinner you guys go back with our car. I'll take them back to school. You guys go home and say hello to your parents?" "No," Jiang Qin said with a pout. "Why not?" "I'm going to see where you live. I'll go find you when I have time. You're still my tutor. Don't you want to fulfill your responsibilities now?" "Next time." Fang Yan refused. "I still have a lot of things to do today. I brought the students out and I have to bring them back safely. I also have to report to the school leaders and there are friends waiting for me to receive. Next time I'll definitely invite you to my house next time." "Okay," Jiang Qin said helplessly. "I'm telling you I'll definitely go." Definitely, Fang Yan said as if he was promising. At this moment, a strong smell of alcohol came. Burning knives. Even though Fang Yan hadn't tasted this kind of strong liquor for a long time, he could still smell the familiar smell of this liquor. How could there be the smell of burning knives at the top of Shenxia Mountain, which was thousands of meters above the ground, when the morning dew filled the air? Fang Yan followed the smell of alcohol and saw a long-haired man holding a huge bronze wine gourd drinking on a big rock more than 10 meters away. The big man sat cross-legged on the rock, drank a mouthful of strong liquor and glanced at the sunrise. His posture was arrogant, and his expression was relaxed. It made people feel strange but also gave people a feeling of grandeur. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.